call the Twilight Zone.
Steve Kerr, and you look at Steph and Clay, and even Draymond with his lack of performance.
He's at 2 in a row, 7 points for him. The twirling Doncic, melting into the defense. The front play strikes. Swing, fly ball, well hit left center. Robert Acuna has homer. Rookie rushing record for the Steelers.
Look, he came into this game averaging 3.67 yards per carry. 42nd out of 49 qualified rushes.
Freeze to begin the third quarter. It has been incredible. Here he comes again. Oh, goodness. And a Greek basketball god. And he was a great guy to teach the
What is? Oh, hello. Go ahead, Corey.
You fucked that up, Bob.
I'm so sorry. Well, you didn't talk right off the rip, so I didn't know if you were doing it.
I think there was a pause for dramatic effect there.
There was.
Probably. That's my fault.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dinger's Drunks and Drives at this point. Yeah.
Start it over. Ending it. Coming back in.
We'll be back in 5. We'll be back in 5.
Run
right.
it back.
All right, here we go. Ready? Take 2.
Dun, 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 dun. Wow, wow.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dingers, Dunks, and Drives. I'm Corey. With us this evening is everybody. We got Todd, we got Aaron, we got Bobby, and we appreciate you all spending some time with us right now. However you come to us through the Rally Tal Sports channel or through the Mafia Sports Report, we appreciate you and echo the sentiments of of Tommy in the chat right now. Pray for tomorrow. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. I'm wearing my red tonight. In solidarity with Bill's Mafia. Obviously, what Bill's Mafia went through on Monday evening, what we all went through, the Bengals players, the Bills players, staff, support staff, the fans that were there, the fans that were watching on TV, even if you weren't a fan of either of those teams and you were watching what happened on Monday night, obviously, something we hope we never see again. Something we have never seen in our lifetime and something we hope we never see again on the field. I think it's only fitting that, we start this show by talking about what happened and kind of decompressing. I think it would be foolish of us not to do that. I think it makes sense. I think it's cathartic. I think it's therapeutic for us to be able to talk, to have our fans and everybody involved in the live stream be able to talk about it a little bit. And just, because it was a lot going on. It was a lot to process. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Todd, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, obviously you're a fan of one of the teams that was playing. So,
yeah. So I think the biggest thing for me is just just like fear. I felt genuine fear for what was happening, right? And sitting there and having just so much. There was so much filler, but there was so much silence that was built into these moments because you had absolutely no idea what was going on, right? All you see is cut away from an injury and then a cut back, and then there's an ambulance on the field, right? And I don't know, I can't think of a time in our lives where we've seen an ambulance hit an NFL football field, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've certainly seen that happen.
Yeah.
But not like this,
not to that level, right? And I think just the amount of unknown that existed within this moment, and I think the silence kind of falls into that, was what scared me the most. And I think I could speak for all of us when I say anytime I see somebody get injured, I hate it, right? I hate seeing somebody go down and not instantly pop back up, or if they do pop up and go back down, I hate seeing those moments because it's bigger than just the average tackle or the average hit, whatever you want to call the circumstance. And I think all of us, I mean, really the sports world in general is constantly just looking for answers and looking for information and trying to find a way to find a solution to a thing that's happened. And, I think the hardest part for me personally is just the amount of unknown, because it's a life, it's a human life we're talking about that's kind of teetering on or at least in the moment you're teetering on what's going to actually happen with this human being, and it makes you reflect. I mean, I'm sure, Corey, I'm sure you felt similar to me as a parent. It makes you instantly think of your kids, and that was the hardest part for me.
Yeah, it was definitely a surreal moment. It was a moment that I'll never forget. Initially when I first had heard or saw, obviously another Bills player is down, a few plays earlier, there was, somebody shaking up on the field. And, in my sports mode at that time, I was like, I want you at your best. Get up. Come on. I hope I didn't want anybody injured. I wanted to play the competitor at their best. I want to beat them when they are at their best. And I kind of said the exact same thing, obviously not knowing the scenario that was going on here. And then, you hear that the medical staff is out there and you see players reacting. And, I've kind of numbed to that a bit in that, when Lyle Collins was hurt, there were similar reactions out on the field of like, get out here. Yeah. And I was like, okay, it's obviously not good, but I had no idea that it was this level. And then, I hear that they're bringing an ambulance out. And from my mind, I'm thinking they're bracing his back. It's a neck injury or a back injury of some kind. They're taking precaution. And I'm like, wow, that's terrible. But nowhere in my mind am I thinking this person's life is in jeopardy at this moment. And then you get and I'm getting goosebumps and chills just thinking about it, just talking about it right now. You get the word that they're performing CPR on the field. And it's bone chilling. It is. And it is at that moment that there is nothing else that matters. There is no one else on the field watching the game. Well, obviously not watching the game, but no one else on the field was thinking about anything else. It was just, I don't know. It was crazy. Bobby, Aaron, if you guys, you want to chime in and,
yeah, man,
use this time to share.
I mean, it's I was talking to everybody at my work and Caroline and everybody, and we've just never seen anything like this in sport. I mean, maybe the closest comparison I can come to think of was maybe Ryan Friel's injury when he ran into the wall, and I think they had to bring the ambulance out for him.
Ryan Shazier.
Well, Ryan Shazier as well, yeah. So there's a lot of bad things that have happened in Cincinnati in prime time. Shazier broke his neck. David Pollard broke his neck. And obviously now we have DeMar Hamlin.
Tua.
And then Tua.
Yeah.
So,
and obviously that's nothing but coincidence.
It's all coincidence, but I'm still shaken up by it, man. It's because it's a freak thing, right? It's one of those things. It's like a 1 in a billion, like, chances, just because of the he was in the right place at the right time. His heart was beating in the exact right rhythm for it to get knocked out of rhythm and put him into cardiac arrest. And it's at first we were just like, okay, he fell down, is he just concussed and tried to get up? And then it turned into when I saw the look on Josh Allen's face, that was when I knew this shit was like just something we'd never seen before.
He wasn't there.
That was the look of somebody that had just seen the most horrific thing he's ever witnessed in his life. The most terrifying thing he's ever seen. And when Joe Burrow started throwing the ball to warm back up, I was just like, there's no shot these guys are playing this game. I was literally sitting here screaming at my computer screen, like, you guys will not fucking play this game. These guys are done. You need to, football is bigger than just the race for the number 1 seed in the AFC. It's bigger than that, and these guys are shook, and they need some time to process what had just happened to their brother on the field. Both sides. I mean, this wasn't just a Buffalo thing. This was a humanity thing that we all were a part of and experienced. And man, I feel for T. Higgins as well. I feel that that man probably put so much guilt on top of himself. I know I would feel absolutely terrible if I was the person that he hit, and cause that. And, there would just be so much running through my head. Like, what could I have done differently? Could I have positioned my body differently to where he didn't, go through that? But I mean, it's a freak play. We see that hit at least 5-6 times on Sundays, throughout the course of watching football. And, sorry, I'm rambling here, but I just, all these thoughts have been going through my head all week, and I'm just trying to process it.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's a lot, man. Like, I didn't have a rooting interest in that game tuning into it, but we were talking about that game the entire day because I was like, it's Bengals Bills. That's Bengals Bills is exactly the kind of football game I'm going to stay up for on Monday night, get the popcorn ready. Oh, hey, by the way, sports gambling's legal in Ohio now. It's going to sit down, have a little, get a little action on the game, have some fun. And it immediately turns to this indescribable moment in human history, television history, without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
Because this is probably was set up, and let's not forget how great of a game it was leading up into this moment. So you had all eyes on this event. This isn't just like Commanders, Vikings Thursday night football, which no slight against those teams, but there just were naturally going to be more eyes on this game just because of the level of talent that was on the field. And we kind of all came together in a moment of, oh my God, what is happening? You see panning in and out of commercial, which, by the way, hats off. I think ESPN did a great job of covering it, because what do you do in that moment? Those people are journalists, sure, but we always talk about how the E in ESPN stands for entertainment. And I think they rose to their journalistic integrity that night. I think the fans in Cincinnati did a great job. There was no booing. There was no, not that there ever would be, but you know what I mean? I think everyone that was there in the moment kind of rose to the occasion. You see the players surround him, some not even facing in that direction because they can't look at it, but they just want to protect their brother, from having the eyes of the world on this event that, nobody should have to witness or go through or anything like that. So it was a very humanizing moment in a sport where we do kind of shake these injuries off, right? Like when I first saw it, I see him stand up and immediately fall over. And as sad as it is to say, I've seen that happen before.
Sure.
And you kind of become numb to it. And then they go to commercial, and that's a normal thing to do. All right, we're going to take an injury timeout. And then you come back, and like you guys said, you just see the look on all the players' faces. And that was right when you knew, I have not seen this before.
Yeah.
So that was challenging. My wife was upstairs. She came down and she's like, you look like you just saw a ghost. And I'm like, I don't even know how to explain to you what I'm watching right now, because I can't not now watch this, not from any entertainment perspective, but like, I just want to make sure DeMar's okay.
Sure.
And I didn't, frankly, I didn't really know who he was before this play. I know a lot about him now, and, I hope he's okay.
As I was watching it, bit of, honesty moment here, and like a confession, like something I've wrestled with this whole time through this whole, and I don't think I'm alone, which is why I'm okay with sharing it, is that I really wanted that game to happen. Like, I wanted it to happen. Really.
Everybody did.
You know what I mean? But I wrestled with that internally as like an ethos thing, and like, obviously I know it's not right for this game to go on, but I want it to. I really want to see.
You meant after the injury.
Well, as the injury was unfolding, once they're loading him up on an ambulance, and I find out they're doing CPR and putting paddles on his chest and stuff like that, I know that it's impossible. And I still even kind of wrestle with, like, I'm just kind of dealing with that, in that I wanted that game to I'm disappointed that game didn't happen. You know what I mean? Sure. Like I'm wrestling with that fact, because I know that I shouldn't be worried about that. I should be worried about DeMar, but I am. I guess what I'm coming to is that both of those feelings. So if anybody else is out there kind of going through that, is that both of those feelings can exist at the same time. Sure. And they're not independent of each other. Or they are independent of each other, right. And you cannot. It's okay to be upset that you didn't get to watch the rest of what was probably the most anticipated game in the entire season, and probably why they scheduled it as the last Monday Night Football game of the season, and still be sad and hope that things work out in the best way possible for DeMar going forward.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say if you're a Bengals fan or a Bills fan, you wanted that game to continue in some facet, right? Maybe not exactly in the moment, but I mean, I think every Bills fan, Bengals fans thinking like, what can we do to what is the NFL going to do to finish this game? And everybody wants DeMar Hamlin to be better, right? And to be better, and likely something like this ends a career of playing professional football. And it's very unfortunate that we exist in that world where we had to see that. But I think anybody that tells you that there was a Bengals fan or a Bills fan that tells you that they didn't think at all that game should continue, even for a moment, they're lying to you. Because everyone wanted to see this game happen. We've been talking about it for 3 weeks now, right? I mean, it's not like it's been a thing where this just popped up where everything started to matter. This game's mattered for weeks now. We've been as Bengals fans specifically, you've been anticipating this game because this is the biggest primetime game the Bengals have had ever, other than the Super Bowl, right? Like, I mean, ever. So this is a big platform, and I think the fan base from both sides. Number one, I think everybody handled everything with as much grace as you possibly can. Yeah. Right. And of course, there's a few bad eggs that always fall into it that use a circumstance like this to promote their own agenda or traject into their opinion, which fuck them, whatever.
Or attack players.
Yeah, fuck them. That's you're a horrendous human being for. There's no accusation that can be made. There's no one to blame. There's nothing specific to blame. This is a as Bobby said, a 1 in a billion thing that just happened. But I think as a football fan in general, your first thought, you're thinking about the human being and their life, but you're also thinking like, God, I got to see what happens next, right? Because that's just that's how we're wired as football fans. We've been through scandal. We've been through all sorts of things going into a football season. And we've said it, as soon as football starts, all that stuff kind of subsides. And I think that's still subconsciously kind of triggers in your mind is you want football to exist even through the adversity. It's the only thing that existed through what I could argue is the world's largest issue that's happened since the Spanish flu, right? Like we shut down nations, but yet football, the NFL specifically, somehow persevered. So, I mean, we talked about it. I think we all thought that there was going to be something that could come of it, but I think the NFL is doing the most humanitarian thing they can do and delaying, but it's also probably the best for competition for the NFL to do what they're doing and delaying and making a decision until after this week is over, because there's still a lot of circumstances around this game that kind of filtered out through the end of through the end of next week. So, yeah, Corey, I don't want you to think you're standing alone on that, because I think there's a lot of people that felt the same exact way that you did, and myself included.
Yeah.
The one thing I appreciate about you guys, I mean, even in the group chat, it's we have a pretty safe space in there to share our thoughts and feelings without being judged, and just putting everything out there on, in the open, and just, having a conversation about, just life and, how we handle adversity as human beings, not even in relation to the situation, just in general, which I appreciate about you guys. And so one thing I appreciate how, the NFL's handled this up to this point. It's traditionally it's next man up, he's okay. We get the thumbs up and we're on to the next snap. You know what I mean? This is the first time that I've ever seen a player or person take precedence over the machine that is the NFL. And for them to do that says a lot. And I think they're making strides towards being more conscious of the human being that is a part of this game and does drive that business. And I'm interested to see what they do as far as, after this week plays out, if, enough goes into, if things happen and, the game doesn't become as important, then I don't see them, making any big changes or making it up or calling it a tie. I've heard so many scenarios. I think, today is the first day that it's been, okay to, kind of throw those scenarios out there and, talk about what's next. But
yeah,
Well, let's talk about it. Let's
yeah.
I do. Well, I was gonna say, I mean, like I agree with everything you're saying there, Bobby. Before we move on, I'd be remiss to just move on without mentioning the other point of that. I don't know if I'm ready to throw roses at the feet of the NFL for the humanitarian side of it, because if the reports they were telling them to warm up if this incident happened before the social media era, that game would have continued, in my opinion.
Well, it didn't, and at the end of the day,
I know it didn't.
The right thing happened, right?
The right thing did happen, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that says more than anything.
I agree. Well, I agree that they are making strides. You know what I mean? Like they are for sure, and a lot of the people.
Yeah, I mean, everyone
driving the conversation.
I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing. Yeah.
No, yeah, I get it, but I mean,
I just want to at least
it's a big step in the right direction. Is the moral of my story.
I think obviously there's been a lot of scenarios that have been thrown out over the last 12 hours or so in terms of how do they make this game up. If they make this game up, obviously that's one scenario, is that you don't, and that this is ruled a no contest for both the Bills and the Bengals. So what are let's talk about the scenarios. I'll list out the ramifications of the scenarios, and then we can kind of talk about what we think is best. So the first one obviously is a no contest. That chalks up as a tie basically for the Bengals and for the Bills. They will only compete in 16 games this season. What does that do? That effectively does two things for the Bengals. It clinches the AFC North for the Cincinnati Bengals, cementing Baltimore in as a wild card team, but it also cements that the Bengals cannot get the number one seed in the AFC, as the Chiefs already have more wins than the Bengals could achieve at 13. What else does that do if they rule it a no contest? Well, kind of puts things in the driver's seat for the Chiefs as well. The Chiefs win against the Raiders. They lock in the number one seed. Right. As the Bills were the number one seed, they would then drop down to the number two. Due to win percentage, the Chiefs would be the number one, as they are right now listed on any site that you go check. The Chiefs are the number one seed. And the Bills would then lose their first round bye, and not just first round bye, home field advantage, better seeding throughout the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people talk about the home field and the bye. A lot of it also has to, in my opinion, does a lot with the seeding and which teams you're going to get. It's the easiest route to the Super Bowl. That's why they do it that way. So those are the
mistaken. The NFL reseeds too. Anyway,
they do exactly. So you always, the number one seed always gets the lowest seed, always throughout the entire playoff. So those are the ramifications for the Bills and for the Bengals, and obviously the Chiefs and the Ravens as well. The other scenario is that there have been two things that have posted out as we extend the regular season, eliminate the Pro Bowl week in between the conference championships and the Super Bowl, or the newest one that I've heard has been kicked around is a week 19. And in week 19, what you will get is Bills, Bengals, and the NFC wild card. The week following that, you would get the AFC wild card, with the NFC playoff teams getting a bye. So what does that mean? Well, if the Chiefs win next week, the Bengals have no reason to try and win that Bills game other than trying to get up to the number 2 seed, because that's the best that they could achieve. It's honestly, in doing that, if the Bengals are playing in a week 19, then they play and then move on to a divisional round game immediately after that and get no bye, playing a wild card matchup immediately after that. And by doing so, the team that they're going to play gets a bye right before they play them. So as I'm looking at this personally, there is not a single scenario where the Bengals don't get fucked. I don't see a single scenario where they don't get fucked. And I understand the sensitivity around the issue, but in what way is that not the case, from my opinion, or from that perspective, I guess?
I mean, Yeah, it's a terrible, tough situation. It's completely and totally unprecedented. The NFL is the one sport that plows ahead and moves on. The timing of this doesn't help either. If this happened in week 6, you can shuffle bye weeks around.
Yep.
The NFL would have done that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? The problem with what you just suggested there, Corey, outside of just option A, which is just chalk it up and let's move on, is now you have to move all of these pieces, which sounds always a lot easier on paper. Hey, let's just move this here. Hey, let's just move that there. Let's do this here. Let's do that there. There are things that do end up coming into play in these things where there's a lot of logistics behind the scenes that are already in place for a lot of that stuff. Now the NFL,
but they're not, because the games aren't set yet.
In terms of,
in terms of wild card matchups.
Yeah, no. I understand. But at this point now, you're going to be the NFL won't do anything to jeopardize the playoffs, which is their ultimate spectacle, and the Super Bowl being the king of that. Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you that the Bengals are not being favored in this situation. I don't understand what you can really do at this point. I just think that's too much, too involved. And frankly, I think you're going to have a hard time getting people to follow all right, this is what we're doing this year, is we're going to do this, we're going to do that, as opposed to just saying, hey, let's move on from here. It's terrible that it happened. And frankly, outside of Bills and Bengals fans, who I get would have a reason to be upset from a on the field perspective.
Yeah.
Everyone else isn't really, you're starting to affect a lot more than just the two teams that were on the field.
Well, that's happening either way, is what my point was with that first scenario. Is you're affecting more than the Bengals and Bills by simply saying no contest to this game. You're affecting the Pittsburgh Steelers as well, because the Pittsburgh Steelers need the Patriots to lose next week to the Bills. If the Bills have nothing to play for next week, which they wouldn't if their seeding is already locked in, or if they're already there's no way they could get the number 1 seed. They have nothing to play for, and then that would likely mean in the Patriots, they have a lot of fucking things to play for getting into the playoffs. That there's just so many ripple effects with this, and I understand how improbable it would have been to play the game tomorrow night, but I in terms of the logistics and everything else, that would have probably been the best situation, is playing
from a pure football perspective.
100%, 100 million%. And if that needs to be said, I'll make it said. But yeah, from a football perspective only, a logistics perspective only, let me be very clear. I understand why it's not being played tomorrow night.
Right.
But from a standpoint of making it all make sense going forward, that is the only thing that made sense, is playing it tomorrow. And then you're kicking out Bengals and Bills to like a doubleheader Monday night, or one of them gets, a Monday night, Tuesday night kind of situation, something like that, moving into the playoffs and going forward. It's that I don't know what the correct answer is. All I know is that there are two teams that were involved in a horrific situation, and both of them are getting fucked by this.
Well, I mean, obviously the situation's unfortunate, but my perspective on it is, for the bubble teams like the Steelers and like the Patriots, and teams that are impacted by the outcome of this game, you shouldn't let your season come down to the last week. In my professional opinion, you should get it taken care of a lot earlier in the season. For the Steelers, they lost a lot of games they could have won.
Hey, and you guys won a Super Bowl as a 6th seed, by the way.
We did. Yep. We did win a Super Bowl as a 6th seed. Not saying that's off the table this year if we somehow squeak in, but with the powerhouses that are the AFC, between the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Bengals, whoever gets in, I doubt that there's any bubble team that's going to make it through. We can all say here that out of the AFC teams that are left, it's going to be the Chiefs, Bengals, or Bills in the Super Bowl. I think we could all be pretty confident throwing some money down on that.
I mean,
line.
yeah, if I had to throw money down, which I will, yeah, absolutely. There's no question in my mind. But if you looking on the other side of the coin, and let's just say that was the scenario, looking on the other side of the coin, if you told me by some chance that the Green Bay Packers were in the NFC Championship game, I wouldn't think that's crazy. You know what I mean? Just by the way that they've been playing over the last couple of weeks. And so it's just that we touched on it earlier, the humanity of the NFL and the things that, it only extends so far. And the right thing would be to push everything else out and get this game settled so that everything else is fair and chalk moving forward. But everything involved around doing that, and however many other things you need to move around in order to do that, it won't happen. Because of the TV deals and the hotel deals and and this and that and the other. But when it comes down to just the game, if we were worried about just the game and what made most sense for just the game, that's what makes most sense. But that's not what's going to happen.
No.
Well, I mean, go ahead, Todd.
No, I was just going to say everything that we're kind of spitballing around in this conversation is purely based on the game itself, right? And I think we're all four of us, and anybody that's listening is aware that everything that happens in professional sports is much greater than the actual game itself. There's a lot of hands in the cookie jar that is professional sports, specifically the NFL. And I can assure you that the NFL is going to make sure that those hands are well fed and will pass on a game and continue to feed the hand that feeds you back, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a simple double back scratch situation here, fellas. I think we're breaking something down that, somebody's gonna get fucked no matter what, right? I think that's what we can all agree on. Yeah. All biases aside, somebody's gonna get fucked. But the NFL is a bigger beast than a football game.
Yeah,
and whatever scenarios that have been thrown out, I don't think any of them happen. I think the game just passes on, and it does, and whatever folds out, and then we're talking about the playoffs, and we're back talking about normal football again. And you know what? If the Ravens get upset about it, fuck them. Win a playoff game, right? I think to Bobby's point, I think that it's a little simple, but he's kind of right. Like, if you're going to get into the playoffs, handle your fucking business.
Bengals win on Sunday; it doesn't matter anyway.
Sure, right. But even saying
for the Ravens,
yes, for the Ravens specifically. But even if the Bengals lose, they still got to go in and win 3 games to get to the Super Bowl, right? Yeah. That's kind of the synopsis of all of this. Is that yes, it sucks that Buffalo doesn't get the number 1 overall seed, and then it goes to Kansas City, but you still got to win to get to the Super Bowl. And
number 1 seed only hosted 1 game last year.
Yeah.
What if Kansas City loses?
Yeah, and they haven't been playing great.
And Stidham, I don't know.
Yeah,
there's you know what I mean? Like, that could happen. We're already like putting everything in Sharpie.
Well, no, but
and I get it, and I understand what you're saying. And Todd,
that's what pisses me off even more is like the Chiefs losing this week isn't crazy. Like losing to a divisional rival at the end of the year. Talk to the Colts about that
on the road, not the wrong possibility. Yeah,
yeah. So, but
look, I just want to say, like, this is I think it's right to talk about and go through these scenarios because everyone is thinking the shit that we're talking about, right? And trying to put together a solution to the most complex problem that we've seen in the NFL, but it is what it is.
And here's the thing, guys. There are really 0 players on each roster that give a fuck where they play.
Right.
Absolutely.
It'd be one thing if this pushed a team that was involved in this game out of the playoffs or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if the difference is bye week and non-bye week, I do kind of partially agree with Bobby a little bit on the, you could have won games earlier in the season. This obviously, Corey, I know you're rolling your eyes at it, but like, you should get the whole season just like everybody else to play it. But my point is if you are a team that's going to win the Super Bowl, playing 1 extra game, whether that helps or doesn't, I think the best team is going to win the Super Bowl.
Sure, neither team that won this or was in the Super Bowl last year was a 1 seed. Right. But it's also
all the time where they lose off the.
But it's also, would I rather be a 2 seed? But no, or a 2 seed versus a 3 seed. And what I mean by that is, would I rather go to Buffalo in January, or would I rather have them come to Cincinnati?
That's true.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
No, I get it. I get it.
That's a completely fair point. But I mean, my personal opinion on what they should do is just push the play, because the playoffs aren't set in stone. Those reservations don't matter because we still don't know who's playing who in the NFC, AFC championship, AFC, NFC divisional games. We don't know that.
We don't, but I hate to word it like this because, again, I know there's a bigger problem, but this is an AFC problem. You go with that scenario, now it's an everybody problem.
Well, I mean, it's a an event that happened to the NFL. It's a collective whole, in my opinion. AFC, NFC doesn't matter. You guys everybody has to be flexible. It's one business. That's like saying like the accounting team needs to be flexible and the sales team doesn't.
the major
You know
thing
what I mean?
that the reason why it would be everybody is so that there's equal rest leading to the Super Bowl is, I
Right.
think, why you would do it that way. But
Exactly. So if they just push it back, move the Pro Bowl after the Super Bowl like they used to do it, they could squeeze this game in. They could play, they could push Bengals Ravens back to Thursday nights. Bills Bengals could play Saturday, and then everything else is still in line and nothing else is impacted.
Yeah, but if I'm the Bengals or the Bills, I wouldn't want less rest going into the playoffs.
It's true.
Opposed to my opponent.
It's true.
Even if they propose that to the teams, I could see them saying we'd rather just take it.
And they probably would. If I'm the Bills and the Bengals, I would just say, hey, if you guys are offering us the ability to just chalk the game and not play it, if I'm Bills and the Bengals, both of them, I'm probably taking it.
Yeah, honestly, it almost serves as like a mini bye. Obviously, the mental strain is not going to go away, and the emotional strain from that game, but the physical strain, they played less than a quarter of football. There's a significantly less toll. And again, I'm not trying to be insensitive about what happened, and I'm just talking about what actually happened that night and how that affects going forward, because that's all we can do. We don't have any other updates on DeMar right now other than slightly positive ones that he is doing better. He's using less of the respirator and breathing a little bit more on his own, which is fantastic news. They're optimistic that he's going to come out of this in a good way, and everybody is the biggest cheerleader, including everybody that's contributed to his GoFundMe, which is up over $6 million now, which is fantastic. I'm really excited to see him learn that and watch him allocate those funds and watch him impact that change in his community, and that's going to be pretty fucking amazing. So
did you guys see what Fanatics was doing with his jersey sales?
Yeah, they were donating it to that's
every single one of his jersey sales from whenever Monday night to whenever, they're going to be donating 100% of the proceeds to his GoFundMe.
It's pretty cool.
If you haven't, go get yourself a DeMar Hamlin jersey.
Yeah, and Cincy Shirts, cincyshirts.com, Cincy Shirts down towards the north side of Cincinnati is also doing the Bengals Bills kind of over the shoulder into the sunset photo. I think we've all kind of seen now the drawing, and then there's a 513 Bills Bengals Mafia kind of shirt. That the same thing. It's a $20 t-shirt. All of it goes to DeMar's toy drive. So it's I think the big thing for me is I've kind of looked through all of this is how immediate communities can coexist and work together. And I think NFL owners specifically are doing the right thing by continuing to donating to this charitable thing as well. I think we've seen Robert Kraft and Jim Irsay, they've done that, and there's several other organizations that donated. It's cool to see all of that come together and how immediate people figure out how to do the best that they can for someone else rather than thinking about themselves for 5 minutes. I think that's a pretty special thing that's come of this. Also,
big Bills Mafia heartthrob Andy Dalton made a $3,000 donation in honor of DeMar as well. So obviously you may remember what Bills Mafia did for Andy Dalton and JJ Dalton's foundation when they beat the Ravens to send the Bills to the playoffs. I think it was back in 2018. They absolutely blew up his foundation, so returning the favor there and showing support and solidarity. It's pretty cool. Cool.
Absolutely no, it's the one thing that crossed my mind Obviously before we get into last week's picks and move on to this week's picks, was just the fact that, we've got Tommy and, the Bills Mafia platform, and, half of the panel here is, Cincinnati fans. And, the fact that we've come together this season just, on our platforms, and now we're, forever linked, the Bills and the Bengals. And, I got chills just seeing the response and, all the love that was shared between Bills and Bengals fans, and even Bills and Bengals players on the field. If that hug between Josh Allen and Joe Burrow didn't make you cry, I don't know what will.
That's pretty impressive moment in terms of.
It's an unfortunate moment, but it was also a special moment as well. Brought a lot of people in the community together, and so
definitely.
All right, boys. Are we ready to recap last week?
Let's do it.
Get into this week.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so last week, unfortunately, I was not present to make my picks, but we got some pretty tight results regardless. Corey, once again, having the best week, 13-2 on his picks. Unbelievable week for Corey. The rest of us were at 11-4. I know we were a little spread out on our choices and selections, but somehow it always pans out to where we're all pretty close. So that puts the overall standings. Corey has now cemented himself with a 4-game lead.
That's going to be tough.
Going into week 18. Aaron is at 155-83. And me and Mr. Gottschall are still tied at 154-84, sitting 1 game back of Aaron.
Oh, wow.
So 1 game separates 3 of us, and Corey would have to have the worst week in the history of mankind in order to fall out of the number 1 slot. So
let's hope I don't do that.
Not putting any juju on you, Corey, but I'm that's actually exactly what I'm trying to do.
I was going to say, I think that's exactly what you're doing right here.
All right. So let's go ahead and get this party started here. First game slated for this week was a game that we had just mentioned. We've got the Chiefs headed to LV to take on the Raiders. I almost said LA.
I know.
But hey, I caught myself.
I appreciate
I didn't make that good work this week. So we got the Chiefs taking on the Raiders in Vegas. Todd, I'll let you lead it off.
Well, thank you. So we talked about that Kansas City has not played great, especially over the last 2 weeks, obviously, going into overtime with the Texans and squeaking one out there, and then Danger Russ coming in and almost beating Kansas City as well, squeaking a win out by 3 there as well against the reeling Broncos. And now you're talking about a Jarrett Stidham-led offense for the Las Vegas Raiders that looked better. Right. I mean, I think the big thing as I watched kind of Jarrett Stidham unfold during that game and throw the balls, he threw the ball to Devontae Adams, and that just works. That's the thing where I think Derek Carr had such a hard time this year is he just wasn't targeting Devontae Adams enough. And Jarrett Stidham at a pinch just said, I'm going to throw the ball to my best guy. And you know what? It worked. So I think the simplicity of the game for Jarrett Stidham, kind of played into his benefit against the 49ers defense that we've talked about as being top 3, top 5, wherever you want to put him at. But I think that there's a lot to this game, right? For Kansas City, they want to clinch out that number 1 seed regardless. I do think the Chiefs win this game, and if I'm a betting man, which obviously we all are, I'm taking the over. So over under is 52.5. I'm taking the over on this game because I think there's going to be a lot of points on the board from both teams.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I got to take the Chiefs as well. I just can't see. I mean, I can see it. You guys, I mean, you made a very good point there of how bad they were last week, and Stidham obviously played a lot better. But I think there's a reason Stidham was a backup to play this game. It's very easy to just look at it and go, obviously Derek Carr is the problem. You see that happen sometimes where the teams make a change and they respond to the change, and then the next week it kind of falls flat because it's kind of a one-trick pony.
Sure, Mike White did it last year with the Jets, right? It's kind of
exactly. Well, right,
I look
exactly.
at this as the same scenario.
You're like, oh my god, this guy.
Yeah, once you get tape on a guy, it's a lot easier to prep for him.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier. I'm going to take the Chiefs here. They, obviously playing for the 1 seed. If they win this game, they're off, and that's probably the way. Actually, the one thing we didn't mention was they haven't ruled out officially that the game is not being played. Correct?
They haven't.
There is still, we don't really know if they will end up changing something, but I'm going to take the Chiefs here. They're just the better team.
Cool. Corey.
Yeah, I not a whole lot more to spend on this one. They're a fucking 9.5-point favorite. I'm going with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games that we'll need to, or at least for those of us here at the bottom, that we'll need to take some gambles on. This is not one of them.
No.
With the Chiefs still definitely have something to play for, and the Raiders have been god awful. So, taking the Chiefs here. Next game on the slate, we've got a good one. We've got a divisional game. We've got the Titans headed south to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. This is going to be a good game. This whole week we've got a ton of divisional matchups, so it's going to be a great weekend of football.
I think you have only divisional matchup, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. It's only divisional matchup.
Yes, it is only divisional matchups. So
as is tradition.
Should be a lot of good football this weekend. Corey, lead it off. You got.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm glad to lead this one off. I mean, this is a lot easier of a pick for me than I thought I was going to be, 5 weeks ago, coming into this one. The Titans are terrible, guys. They're deflated. They're a bad football team. And I am very worried about their roster moving forward because I don't think they have an answer at quarterback. I think that they're aware that they don't have an answer at quarterback. I think they're aware that what they have in the skill room isn't enough. Derrick Henry isn't enough. There's, I can't remember the last time that a team won a Super Bowl with the leading rusher on their roster. So just put that into perspective for you. But I don't know what the Titans are going to do moving forward from here. I'm interested to obviously we've got some friends down at Second and Victory that their Titans podcast. Go check them out if you haven't already. But that are very vested in this, and I'll wish them the best. But I don't know what the answer here is. On the other hand, you've got a Jacksonville Jaguars team that over the last month has kind of revitalized itself, and you're seeing Trevor Lawrence play some of the best football at the quarterback position of anybody in the AFC, maybe even the NFL. So I'm taking the Jags in an AFC South championship game. I don't get these too often, but it's pretty sweet when you do. So I'm going with the Jags. Yeah. We're jagging off, baby.
I there was somebody on this podcast. I don't remember who it was. It was probably around like week 2, 3, 4, something around there. Said, I can actually see an opportunity for the Jaguars to win this division. And
give it up for Aaron.
Everyone went, "You're fucking crazy."
Let's give it up for Aaron Mailing, everybody.
I didn't put my nuts on the line on it, so I can't really take too much credit. But I said it.
Well, all right, well, go ahead. You got
that was about the equivalent of a LinkedIn post. Just suck your own dick. I don't know, but look what I'm doing.
Jaguars are obviously the better team. Doug Peterson is. I really like what he's done there in Jacksonville in his first year, but I'd rather swing for the fences here than try to become first loser. So I'm going to take the Titans.
Wow.
Because I'm going for it. And if I got to fend you two off as well, if I'm going to lose, if it's second, third, or fourth, I'm a loser. I'm going to just offset Corey here.
Hey, fade me all day. I like it. I'll take the better teams. That's fine.
Todd, you got.
Well, I think it's pretty easy, fellas. I think we've already talked about. If I'm going to break it down to the foundation of how we make picks, Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Josh Jobs. Ergo, I'm taking the Jaguars. That's it.
It's good.
Enough said. This is a tough one, because it's the Titans. They've had a lot of. You guys have had, or I'm sorry, the Titans. I was reading Mystery's comment here. I came in for the usual banter. You guys are pretty good at this weekly picks. I am in solid for Bills number 3 tomorrow and the Jags. All right.
Nobody below 60%. I just want to put that out there.
Hey,
all of our picks. That's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I mean for the entire season, especially we pick on Wednesdays and not later in the week. We don't do a Thursday pick and then wait till Saturday until we get the injury report. These are all up front. So I'd say that's pretty darn good. If we had the opportunity to adjust on Saturday, I think we'd be a hell of a lot better. But
here's another thing we could throw a little wrinkle into it for next year. If you want to get those numbers down a little bit from 60%, we could put some spreads in there as well. But we can talk about that in the off season.
We got some time to dig in there.
Oh, I got some ideas, boys.
I'm ready. No, sorry to drag this out. This is a tough one for me. This is a good one to fade, but I just don't know if I trust the Titans to fade.
I wouldn't.
They're just good enough for me to think, hey, maybe it'll happen.
Haven't they lost 6 straight?
Yeah.
So I mean, coming to Corey and Aaron's usual statistical proportions, analysis, you guys say they've lost 6 straight. They're bound to win, right?
They do, right? Yeah.
And,
ask the Texans about that.
and Derrick Henry, he only needs 193 scrimmage yards to break 2,000 for the season. So
scrimmage yards?
Yes. So he's got something to at least run for this week. If it's not just I'm going with the Titans. I gotta fade Corey. We all have to fade Corey at some
run
point.
For too. But.
And hey, it's okay. Taking the Titans here.
Thank you for third place.
All right, just wait.
Hey, Aaron keeps fading me like that, Todd. You might come up to second, big dog.
Hey.
It ain't over yet.
It's not. It's far from over.
There's some where I'd be like, I still can't fade that just out of
right. All right. Next game we got on the board, divisional matchups. A lot of implications this week. We talked about it earlier. We got the Ravens headed to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Aaron, I'll let you lead this one off. Who you got?
See, this would be the one where I know Corey's going to take the Bengals, so I should take the Ravens here if I'm really trying to go for it. And I'm gonna. So no, I mean, here's there is a lot to play for here. Obviously Cincinnati had a weird week. I don't understand how that's going to come into play in the game. I think that the Ravens haven't looked great by any means. But again, the good thing for the NFL schedule makers is that they do make these all divisional games, and we know how divisional games go. The Ravens haven't been playing phenomenally lately. I'm going to take a flyer in this one as well. Try to win that ship.
Cool. Corey.
Yeah, no Lamar again. I think this is his 19th missed practice. I'll say it every week. I'll say it again. It's just odd that without a contract, Lamar Jackson continuously gets hurt at the end of the season. I think he's fine, probably. That's just my guess, that he's probably okay. Little hot take there. And that he is choosing not to be involved in this game because he is protecting himself. And I'm not faulting him for that by any way, shape, or form. I routinely take the player's side in these types of situations. I was on Zeke's side when it came down to his contract negotiation. Pay that man, and they did, and here we are. But nonetheless, listen, the Ravens are not a good team right now. They're not. They don't have a good offense at all. And if you're going to beat the Bengals, you need to score points. The Bengals will score points, and if you can't do that, then you're going to lose the game. And that's why I'm taking the Bengals, a 7-point home favorite to win this game. And regardless of what happens with the Bills makeup game, clinching the AFC North for the second straight year.
Todd.
Yeah, I think just looking at Baltimore over the last, I'll say 7 weeks, right? I think they're 2-5, right, in their last 7 weeks, and they haven't scored over 17 points. And Corey makes a valid point. They got to put points on the board to beat the Bengals. And
sure,
I got to tell you, 17 doesn't look like a good number for them to score against Cincinnati, especially with how slow that offense has moved. And I'm just going to say J.K. Dobbins right now is their biggest asset, and the Bengals have one of the better run defenses in football, and they're going to eliminate or they're going to at least slow that down as much as possible. And I don't trust Tyler Huntley to put points on the board. I just don't. It took them 13 weeks to throw a touchdown to a wide receiver. right? So from week 3 to week 16, and that's with 2 different quarterbacks.
That's an interesting perspective because a few weeks ago we were talking, and I agree with you, by the way. Let me be very clear that he hasn't looked good over the last couple of weeks. It's a shadow in comparison to what he looked like last year when he filled in the void for Lamar, because
way different.
Going into this, we were saying that their offense looked better when Huntley was there, but it's kind of the same. And I'm not saying it's regressed because I don't think it has regressed. It's kind of been about the same as when Lamar was in there, not very good. It's because
stagnant.
If Mark Andrews is your wide receiver 1, that's a pretty easy game plan, right? I mean, you put a slot corner and a linebacker in there, double team Mark Andrews, and then what? We're going to be one-on-one everywhere else. I think most defenses are comfortable with that. And if you can stop the run with the guys that you already have in the box, I think most defenses are going to be comfortable with that game plan.
Yeah.
I think you've watched it too. You've watched every team that's played Baltimore force them to run the ball, but then the problem too is that they don't put the ball in the end zone on the ground either. That's a big problem for them as well.
They're a different team than they were at the beginning of the season. I think at the beginning of the season, everyone was like, they're going to win this division. I think everybody was.
We talked about it at the halfway point. They've hit a legitimate. They're kind of in a purgatory. Mm-hmm. Right, where it just seems like that they've kind of shoveled themselves into this corner and they can't get out of the corner. It's kind of like a glitch in the season for them. And for anybody in the AFC North, it's fantastic, but as a football fan, it's really unfortunate because I think we all 4 agreed at the beginning of the year. This is a team that could have been 7-9 or 6-11, whatever the circumstances may be, and now they win 10 games. So, but the ceiling could have been higher for them. But it just seems like that there's something that seems to halt them, whatever it may be. And this year it's been just not being able to be productive on offense.
Yeah.
And this is also a different Bengals team that they played early in the season too.
Sure.
Much different.
Yeah. The big thing I'm interested to see is how the Bengals come out and play. With everything that went down this week,
sure,
and how much that impacts their psyche and their how do I want to put it, their mindset going into the game. Obviously, it's a big game. At the beginning of that Bills Bengals game, obviously they came out full of piss and vinegar and ready to roll. And they showed it. They put a quick 7 up on the board and. It looked like they were making a solid effort before, obviously before the unfortunate thing happened. But all that aside, I think this, the events that happened this week, I think it made everybody in the NFL stronger mentally. It's just one of those events that's it builds character. It's one of those things where you go home and look yourself in the mirror and. You appreciate everything and you have, and you go out there and you fight for what you want much harder. I think the Bengals win this one, and it's not even close. So I got the Bengals. All right, let's move to the other portion of the AFC North, gentlemen. We've got the Browns headed to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Todd, I'll let you lead it off. Who you got?
Boy, what a matchup, right? I mean, we're talking about playoff circumstances for the Pittsburgh Steelers, where I have to eat crow here, fellas. They won over 7 games. I was wrong. I'm willing to admit sometimes that I was wrong, but I will put an asterisk in there. And I said that Kenny Pickett would have been coming in around like week 10. So I think they've won more games because he's played earlier in the season. So I want to put all that. Look, I have the memory of a fucking elephant, buddy. You can ask it. Yeah, so I said it. I remember it. It's in there.
I know I locked the Steelers over. We had a big thing about it.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so I think the interesting
absolutely
thing
mystery.
About this, I think about this game is that we've watched the Browns offense kind of pick up some momentum, specifically last week against the Commanders defense that we've talked about getting better and better week over week, and Deshaun Watson obviously getting into game form as he's moved kind of into the end of the season post suspension. But the Steelers are kind of playing some good football, fellas. It feels like that
is unbelievable.
It feels like the momentum is shifting into Pittsburgh. It is what it is. They're going to squeak into the playoffs again, fellas. I'm taking the Steelers here because somehow they end up putting together a winning record every year with either a quarterback that can't throw a football anymore or a rookie quarterback. Whatever the circumstances may be, they squeak into the playoffs, and I think they take the dub here.
Sure, Corey.
Well, you get a Browns fan in here to kind of talk a little bit about it, the Browns. All right.
I want to save him for last. I was going to go third and let Aaron go fourth.
All right. I mean, it's definitely this is an interesting game. Obviously, you want as a Browns fan. I think if I can kind of think from that perspective here, what you want to see is something positive going into the offseason. You're not really worried about draft position because you don't have a first-round draft pick. So what you're really looking at here is something positive that can go into the offseason. So you want Deshaun managing and moving that, not managing. You want Deshaun being able to take over the entire offense and lead the offense in an effective manner. You want to see Nick Chubb busting off 7-yard runs, slicing and dicing. You want to see that defensive line do something they haven't done most of the season and stand up and make plays against a running attack that is sure to that kind of was running almost possessed last game where the Steelers defense. Bobby, speaking of that Steelers defense, you've talked all of this praise about the Steelers defense. They're like middle of the road, dude. They're not like this.
When JJ Watt is on the field, they are a top 5 defense. I will put that up against anybody.
That's just statistically not true. They are middle of the road in terms of yards allowed in almost every single game. In terms of points per game, let me pull this up right here. Where are the Steelers ranking? Steelers are just outside of the top 10 in terms of points per game. They're not like this is not an elite defense right now. They're good. Let me be very clear. They're above average, and I'll settle for that. But I'm just putting this out. This is not the Steelers defense that won them Super Bowls. And I just want to be I just want to put that out there because I'm not going to let this aggression will not stand.
This is also the Steelers defense that picked off Joe Burrow 4 times in week 1.
Good job. And you're 1-1 against us. And who's going to win the division? So great job. Great job. All right. Anyway, Robert, I'm taking the Steelers to win this one because I think that they are that offense is starting to click. It's not about their defense for me. It's about that offense. They're starting to click. Najee Harris, the way he was running the ball last week, scary because that's Najee of last year. And if they can get back to that, that's good. The Steelers the offensive line starting to pick things up a bit. Kenny Pickett is starting to see things a little bit better. I still think he makes some pretty questionable throws, and I don't think that stops. Look for a Denzel Ward interception here on Sunday, but I like the way that the moxie that he showed in leading the team into a late touchdown to win that game last week. So I am going to take the Steelers here.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. I was impressed with the poise that he showed on, towards the end of the game, and especially that offhand rollout to the left and that just absolute dime that he threw to Najee Harris, in the last drive of the game. I would have liked to have seen him get together a little bit earlier instead of saving it for late game heroics, but it is what it is, and that's kind of the way that Ben always was. It just always seemed like he couldn't get anything done throughout the game. But you put the ball in his hand with 2 minutes left, and if you're the other team, you're not exactly comfortable. I see a lot of positive momentum with him getting the playing time early this season. I would like to see him get some playoff experience this year. On one hand, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think with them, not making the play. I'm not saying they won't win this game, but I just don't think they get in just due to the other circumstances that surround it. But it's going to give him something to fight for next season and get it done a little bit earlier. So I'm taking the Steelers here. I love what I saw from Najee last week, and Kenny Pickett just gets stronger every game we watch. So
I want to just also come back and correct one of the things I said. They are top 10 in rush defense. They're the 7th best rush defense in the league right now. They are the 20th best, so the 12th worst pass defense in the league.
Also, I can't believe you brought up the fucking first game of the year, Bobby. And you only won by 3 because of a long snapper being hurt. I just want to make that very clear.
He'll take that to his fucking grave. He's got nothing else right now. He's got to take it with him.
That's
Other than his 6 Lombardis, that's all he's got.
That's such a weak cop out though for this season. Such a weak cop out.
We beat you.
Yeah.
I love you guys too. Aaron,
He won by circumstance.
So
I had to get under your skin a little bit because Corey was getting under mine. Okay,
With facts. I was getting under your skin with just truth.
4
Yeah.
picks and a win isn't true.
Sorry, Aaron.
no, you're good. You guys can keep going all day. I'm having a great time. Listen, this is again, I love having the divisional matchups for week 18 because even when the Browns aren't going to make the playoffs, there's still a rivalry here. I still have interest to tune in. I want to see how they're going to look going into next year. Corey, you already talked about it. They don't have a first round pick next year. And I don't think players play up or down to that based on that. It's just more something organizationally where you're like, yeah, no, maybe we pull you this game. We're worried about your ankle for next year kind of thing. But there's a lot of guys that are legitimately on the bubbles, not only on the roster, but the coaching staff as well. I'm not talking about Kevin Stefanski. I think his job is safe, but Joe Woods in the defensive side of the ball, I think we can see some shakeup maybe in the offseason for the Browns this year. Pickett's been playing well. I know you're going to think this is another me fading Corey. I wrote this down already before. I'm going to take the Browns here. It's a +1 spread. There's a couple things I wanted to touch on too. I follow a lot of Packers fans who, after the Deshaun Watson trade, were like, this is the scum of the earth. Browns fans are evil. And I didn't see a single one of them complain last week when the Browns knocked off the Commanders. In fact, we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out that, we
all know Packers fans they're so holy and just they're just the quality of they are the supreme beings of NFL fans.
I just want to point out that the moral high ground from a fan base is usually not the actual view you should have, if not hypocritical. And I just wanted to point that out. So with that
I think just to comment on that, I was vocal about in terms of how I feel about Deshaun Watson.
Oh, 100%.
What I'm not okay with is fans of other teams blaming fans of that team. That's right. Or of blaming I don't maybe even an organization because it's not like the Browns were the only ones lining up to try and get Deshaun Watson.
Exactly.
So it's not, if they weren't going to get him, they were going to have to game plan against him at some point because he was going to end up on another team. So if they had a need and they went for it, I still think that it's okay to not like Deshaun.
And I'm fine with saying that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I just found that interesting just because I was talking about it a couple weeks ago where I was like, if the end of the season shakes out that way. Also, though, I did want to point out this game has my bet of the week. I'm going to ask all of you to hammer this and we're all going to get rich together.
Okay.
We are going to take Jaylen Warren plus 3.5 to 34.5 combined receiving and rushing yards. You're going to find this not on your apps yet because they don't have the player props. But if you do if you were in, Vegas has these out, eventually it will be out. This might fluctuate a little bit. If you can get the combined receiving and rushing, take it. If it's just rushing and that's all they're offering, take that as well. To hammer the over here, the Browns have one of the worst rushing defenses ever. I don't necessarily trust Najee Harris to go over his over-under because it's going to be around the 60, 70, 80 range. But what I do love is a guy like Jaylen Warren. All he's going to have to do is probably bust about 2 or 3 runs where he's going to get 8 yards on a carry as the spellback. I've seen it all year where, whether it be Perrine comes in or I even went back and looked. It was Gus Edwards had 55 yards on 6 touches. Just trust me on this one. We're going to get rich. Jaylen Warren over on his rushing. If you can get rushing receiving total, take that.
This is a financial podcast as well.
Yes. To the moon.
I am writing this down, and I have $200 in free bets, so I will throw some shit down on this.
Throw some. Oh, you know what, Bobby? You could. For the Monday night one, I did. I rode with you. Obviously, that voided, but a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Won my on Sunday. Won my first, or was it? So yeah, Sunday won my first live bet. Won $15. So.
Nice.
Was happy about that. Trying to
welcome, boys.
Right. I'm I'm
ahead,
officially
sorry.
degenerate. I literally spent an hour and a half before we got on here trying to figure out my bets the week. And then
Don't do it yet. Don't do it yet.
I have to just real quick. I'll do it quick, just as a sidetrack. 12:05, like Christmas Eve, drunk, and I'm like doing boozeless January. So I'm like, this is the last night I'm going to be drinking. So I just was in my garage having a cigar, drinking beer, watching live tennis, like through the app, and I'm just like, it works.
That's incredible.
Oh, beautiful.
In my bathrobe.
All right. Next game on the board. Aaron, you had the Browns, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We've got the Vikings on the road, headed to Chicago to take on the Bears. Todd, lead us off. Who you got?
So no Justin Fields. They're going to be trotting out Nathan Peterman for this game. If Nathan Peterman is good for anything, it's at least 2 interceptions in a game. Even against the Vikings defense that actually just gives the ball back more than taking turnovers. I'm still taking the Vikings here. I think the Bears are. I think this is they've scrubbed this year. Obviously, they're moving forward. They're going to have a top 3 pick. I look forward to seeing probably Will Anderson in a Bears uniform. That's my guess. But I'm taking the Vikings here. There's nothing the Bears could do to make me want to pick them ever right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, like you said it before. Justin Fields is out this game. If he played, I'd be thinking about it because the Vikings are reeling. They're probably the worst 12-4 team I've ever seen in my life.
Ever.
It doesn't
ever in the history of
It doesn't make any sense. I think they still have a negative point differential.
Minus 19.
It's insane. I my brain can't even comprehend this. I'm taking them.
Oh my god!
I'm taking the Vikings over. The
Oh,
Bears.
okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were taking the
taking
Bears.
the
I was like,
Bears.
holy
Like,
shit.
No. I was saying. No, I'm sorry. It still doesn't make any sense. But I have to take the 12-4 team against the team that doesn't have anything to play for. That also is without its franchise quarterback. That's what this season was about, Bears fans. I'm confident in Justin Fields moving forward.
Yeah.
This game is nothing I'm excited about next year, regardless.
Yeah,
Cool.
That's a good point.
Yeah, pretty easy. Taking the 7.5 point favorite. Taking the Vikings.
Cool. I'm gonna. I wish Justin Fields was playing because
he's not.
I would take the Bears in this game if he was playing. I think most of us would.
That would be a good one to fade. Yeah.
But I don't know. Justin Jefferson got shut down last week, and I think he's got some points to prove, and he's gonna have a big game this week. Whatever the over is for his yardage, that would be my bet of the week. Take it. Justin Jefferson's gonna have a big game against Bears.
Here's a question, real quick, that I don't know that we've asked. Do the Vikings have anything to play for?
That's a good point.
So I want to take a look here at the standings. I'm going to take a look at the playoff standings right here. Would a win or a loss move them in either direction? So currently the Vikings sit. Yeah, actually, yes, it would. It would solidify them at the 3 seed. If they were to win and the Cardinals were to pull off a miracle and upset San Francisco this week, the Vikings would then move into the 2 seed. Looking at conference record, they would actually have a tied conference record. If the Vikings win this week, if they have a tied conference record with the Eagles, should the Eagles lose as well. I'm trying to find a scenario where the Vikings actually end up in the number 1 seed if they win. Something crazy happens and San Francisco loses and the Eagles lose, which isn't crazy. Obviously, they've dropped the last 2, but the Vikings do have something to play for, is what we've confirmed. It's seeding
out. So
yeah.
All right. So we all got the Vikings. Moving on, we got the Patriots headed to Buffalo to take on Bills Mafia. Corey, lead us off. You got.
Obviously, Bill's playing with a heavy heart. Going out there, it's going to be pretty weird. I think for them, but at the same time, I think that when there are times when you see a strong team.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And then we see a strong team and a strong locker room with a strong head coach and a strong culture, which I think all of those things were demonstrated on Monday night
100%.
by the way that they were reacting. And when this kind of thing happens, I think Bobby made a point that we're all, everyone's stronger for it. If there's any team that is, it's the Bills. I think they understand who they are as a team. They are a brotherhood. And I think that they are really going to galvanize around each other and go out and beat a division rival. They definitely have something to play for. It's moving on in the spirit of DeMar, I think, and not without him. He's there with them, I feel, and they're going to move forward and shake this, not shake it off. That's not what I'm trying to say, but they're going to use that as a reason to continue to move forward. And I think they beat the Patriots here.
Cool. Todd.
Yeah, that's jet fuel, right? I think that you're looking at jet fuel for a Buffalo locker room that is playing. It's officially bigger than the game for them, right? And you're going to see, I think emotions will run high at the beginning of this game where potentially maybe a mistake or two could be made, but I don't think it doesn't slow down Buffalo, right? And I think we've watched New England over the last few weeks, and outside of a good, beating the Dolphins last week, the Dolphins are reeling. It is what it is, and down in South Beach. But Buffalo Corey said it's a good culture, and it's a great team, and they're led by a top 3 coach in the NFL. So yeah, I'm taking Buffalo here.
Absolutely. Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Bills are the better team. We talked a lot at the top of the show about what this game means, or not necessarily what this game means, but obviously the respect we have for Buffalo players, coaches, and of course for the Bengals too. And I think, like we said, everyone kind of showed their stripes that game, and they're good ones. No pun intended for your Bengals. I have the Bills here. It's at home. There's going to be an extra buzz in the building. And here's the thing: if this game was in New England, they still would have gotten a lot of respect, even from a division rival. I think there still would be a lot of energy in the building. But just the fact that this is a home game as well is going to be a big deal. I have Buffalo. They're one of the best teams in the league. They're one of the best teams in the conference, and the Patriots do still have something to play for. And I think the Bills would like to keep them out of it as the team that's always, frankly, been their nightmare for the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's pesky Big Brother for forever.
Now you get to throw them back in the sandbox.
Yeah, somebody
close the
Buffalo.
gates.
Yeah, Buffalo hit puberty, and now they're blocking everybody's shots.
Yeah.
So let's say that happens. Let's say that happens, and Bobby will let's do Bobby's pick.
I have the Bills. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I figured, but I was gonna say let's say that happens. Steelers win. You have 3 AFC North teams in the playoffs again. Wait, did the Ravens make it last year? No, it was just the Steelers, wasn't it?
Steelers, Bengals. Yep.
But still, I would say 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, if you said that there's going to be 3 AFC North teams, I think people would have said, you're absolutely insane. 3 AFC East teams, more than likely. And now you're looking at it could potentially be 1. Yeah. Obviously, the Dolphins, have something to say about that as well, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
We'll actually get to that right now.
All righty.
We've got the Jets headed to South Beach to take on the Dolphins. Aaron, lead us off. Who you got?
It's a tough one here, guys. The Dolphins have just same thing. They've been reeling. They have had a really weird season where it's what is it? They win 3, they lose 3, or was it vice versa? And then they lose. It's like they've just had streaks all year. I think it's 5 now in a row in the losing column. This game started as a pick'em. It has moved to Jets -1. I am just gonna slide along the mud here with the Vegas trail of money, and I'm gonna take the Jets here.
Todd.
Yeah, so my understanding is we're likely going to see Skylar Thompson again, right?
Yeah.
So what is he going to do against the Jets defense? Not a lot. And that running game doesn't make up for being unable to put the ball in the air, because that offense is specifically built around being able to start with Tyreek, then get to Waddle, then get to Gesicki, and then run the football, right? That's been the 4th option for them all year. And this is a Jets defense that keeps their offense in games. And I think Saleh's a better coach than Mike McDaniel. I think he's better at managing the game and keeping it in their benefit. So I agree with Aaron. I'm taking the Jets here.
Cool.
Corey.
Yeah, I like Robert Saleh a lot as the head coach, and
sorry,
and
pronunciation queen in the fucking building. Sorry about that.
Hey, just respect is all I'm getting. But I agree. I just think the same principles are applied here. Same principles are applied here in that defense compared to an offense not under Tua just hasn't really been the same. So I'm going to go with the Jets.
I'm going to fade you guys here. I'm taking the Dolphins.
Good fade.
I think the Dolphins they have a lot to play for this week. Skylar Thompson's obviously not ideal, under center for the Dolphins, but at the end of the day, the Dolphins have more to play for this week than the Jets do. And I think it's going to show. You got some veteran leadership on that Dolphins offense. And Tyreek Hill, who's been there, he's done that. He's been in big time situations, and I think he steps up and has a big game. So yeah, I got the Dolphins here. Corey.
Tyreek Hill's going to throw it to himself.
He certainly will.
He could.
he really could.
He'll have a kick return for a touchdown, a punt return. He'll throw it.
Honestly,
if I also heard he's playing both ways this week, so you might see a pick six.
If I'm McDaniel, he's returning every kick, every punt. He's involved in it. I'm getting him in the rushing game.
No.
Like he's your best player, dude.
Rushing game, not in the punt and kick game though.
Dude, you have to.
Why not?
Unless it's like last play of the game.
Last game of the year, can't hold anything back. We know.
Yeah.
We know.
It's a playoff spot.
I know.
Why not put themselves in the best position to win?
Are they in a win and in kind of situation? Are the Dolphins?
I believe so.
They need some help.
I believe they need the Patriots to lose as well.
They do. Yeah. So the Patriots are ahead of them in the division, or ahead of them in the wild card standing. If they lose, then technically the Dolphins get in. But then if the Dolphins lose and the Steelers win, then they are the third option.
So they have the tiebreak over Miami due the Patriots due to their win percentage in the division, which currently sits for the Patriots at 3-2 and the Dolphins at 2-3. So if the Dolphins win, Patriots lose, Dolphins obviously would leapfrog the Patriots in clinch.
Oh, I thought there was more there. Okay. Next game on the board.
Always end with a clinch, Bob.
Whoa.
We've got the Buccaneers headed north to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Buccaneers, I don't believe they have anything to play for this week. So
They're in.
They're in. And winning doesn't change anything. Losing doesn't change anything.
Correct.
So I don't think you're gonna see a lot of Mr. Tom Brady. Corey, I'll let you lead it off with obviously with the reverse clinch. Who you got?
Yeah, with nothing to play with nothing to play for here, I don't think you're going to be, like you said, you're going to be seeing a lot of Tampa, and I think that's why you see the line where it is with the Falcons at -4. So you look at the Falcons are probably looking at this as another opportunity for them to get their potentially new franchise quarterback up to speed against a defense that is probably not going to be playing very motivated football. Nor are they going to have a lot of the talent that they would normally have out there. So I am going to take Vegas, and I'm going to take the home team. I'm going to take the Falcons to win this one.
Cool. Todd.
Did you guys know that Felipe Franks is now a tight end?
Yes, I did know that.
I did not know that. That shocked me. I'm just looking through the injury report and I see Felipe Franks listed as a tight end. Like I was a
did I see Mercedes Lewis is still playing? Did I see him last week? Was that who I saw?
Jesus, that would be insane. That'd be some Antonio Gates shit.
I think he's playing for Green Bay. I think he caught some passes from Aaron Rodgers, if I'm not mistaken.
Christ. Yeah, look it up while I talk about how the Falcons are going to win this game. I think the big thing here, you're right. Tampa Bay's in. You're in a circumstance in Tampa Bay where you have to rest to have a fighting chance in the playoffs because, Wirfs is injured. Brady's alkaline diet is starting to fade out because of the cost of produce now. You have to start taking into consideration longevity rather than playing in the moment. And this is a good defense for Desmond Ridder to test himself against, right? I think this is a team where he can take some risks right? And they can kind of open up the field a little bit. I think Tyler Algier has proven to be a good RB1 in Atlanta. It's a good foundation of a backfield for them. So yeah, I'm taking the Falcons here. Why not?
Okay, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have kind of hit it all. Tampa doesn't really have anything to play for. Atlanta has some stuff that they're trying to bring into the future. Sure, this is I could fade Corey out and try to hit it. I can't on this one. I think the Falcons win this one.
Can I also just so Mercedes Lewis is playing football. I should note that here. Just to recap. So he is playing for the Packers.
Aaron Rodgers 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, but not last week. He did not last week. He did not catch a single pass last week, but he is still playing, which is absolutely fucking crazy. Yeah. I just want to comment on the Bucs real quick. Their offensive line is getting healthy. Just if you're Mike McCarthy, just get ready. That's all I'm saying. Get ready.
I love that. Nothing would make me happier to see Mike McCarthy lose to Tampa Bay.
I can see it happening right now.
Yeah.
It would. I did see a statistic where the last time Aaron Rodgers threw 11 picks in a season, they won the Super Bowl in 2010. So, just saying, or was it 2012? Whatever year it was.
How many picks has he thrown this year?
11.
All right. Well, I'm getting ready for Jeff Okuda to take one back to the house on Sunday. Let's go
Lions! Everybody's got the Falcons thus far. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a tough game to fade, man. Just because Tom Brady's going to play maybe a drive, maybe two, and then he's on the bench.
I don't even know if he's going to play.
He may not play.
Who is it? Kyle Trask? Is that his backup?
Yep.
Trask up for the task. Let's go, Bobby.
Gators play in the NFL of quarterback.
Yeah, really good ones from UK too.
I will.
UK's not a football powerhouse like Florida is, though. So.
But it's not just Tom Brady. You know, it's Mike Evans that you won't see a lot. It's Chris Godwin that you're not going to see a lot. So who's Trask going to be throwing to? And
Scotty Miller, the pride of Bowling Green.
The Bowling Green State
even
University.
playing? I don't even know.
Probably not. He's like their second best receiver this year.
You're obviously not going to see Leonard Fournette a lot either. This is going to be a game of the second team for the Bucs, and Falcons are going to roll their starters out. It's just not a good game for the Bucs. So I got the Falcons here. I think this is a pretty easy line to take on this one.
Did everybody enjoy that as we all jerked each other off on this picks? Everybody enjoy it? Everybody good? We all felt good on that one?
Oh my! I'm just kidding.
I feel really good that I got a little Florida Gator quarterback dig, and I'll sleep a lot better tonight.
Cool. Yeah, with Jared Lorenzen, rest in peace, and Tim Couch. You enjoy that.
Ooh, again,
wow, dude. I'm
sorry. I didn't know Kentucky was a football school, right? Are we comparing national championships?
Do you want to talk about
this professional talent?
Okay.
What up, Neil? Thanks for popping in. Love you, buddy.
If we're gonna get into the conversation, we can get into
you want to move the goalposts or what? What are we talking about? Are we talking about our school's production of NFL players, or are we changing that? What are we talking about here, Todd?
Well, let's talk about the next game, shall we?
All right. You want to talk about Florida products in the NFL? We can talk about
you guys can schedule a mandate for February 1st, so you guys can sit down and drink some bourbon and talk shit about UK and Florida.
And then Bobby can cook us dinner, which you owe us, by the way, from last year when you lost the pick'em. By the way,
I've never said that I wasn't ready to make you guys dinner. Just make a date, set a date.
And we need Whoppers as well. I think next podcast, Bobby, you should DoorDash those Whoppers for everybody in celebration of the Steelers.
We should do that for the Super Bowl pod.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I have some bets I need to settle up with you too. This just doesn't seem like the right pod to do it.
No, I've asked you to list your charity as well. So once I get your charity, I'll appreciate it.
You owe me a little monologue as well.
I owe more. Yeah,
I forgot. I owe Corey a monologue too. So,
man,
we'll square up.
Like the ESPYs.
Yeah.
There we go. We've already laid the framework. Moving on. We've got the Carolina Panthers headed to New Orleans to take on the Saints.
Ooh.
I think this is going to be a pretty good game. Yeah, I know that the teams aren't very sexy, but yeah, go ahead, Aaron. Lead off.
I kind of have an interesting one on this because I'm pretty sure without looking back at the tape, I know how I went each way, but I'm pretty sure the Panthers were over under 6.5. The Saints were 7.5. And I know I took the under on the Panthers, and I know I took the over on the Saints. So I'm going to double down on it, as you do at the table, and I'm going to take the Saints here because I'm pretty sure I don't think I locked the Panthers. But either way, long story short, I would love to see that one hit. I think the Saints are, they're playing at home. Again, this isn't a huge
Saints are favored in this one, I think.
They are favored in this one. I just really want to hit that Panthers under for the season. So I'm going to take the Saints here.
Okay. I'll actually go second. I'm going to fade you and take the Panthers. I like what they've been doing the last couple weeks. And, I think I don't know. This game is going to come down to, who's got the ball last. It's a division game. I don't think it's going to be a pretty one. But I'm taking the Panthers here, guys. Todd.
I'm going to take the Saints. That's it.
Okay. Corey.
Yeah, I think I don't like what the Panthers did last week. I think they got smacked in the mouth against the Buccaneers, and maybe it's a little bit to the Buccaneers getting healthy and getting on the same page, and Tom Brady, finally getting loose since he is 46 years old, and it takes him 17 weeks to do that. But yeah, exactly. But what I do like is what I've seen out of Andy Dalton over the last few weeks. Believe it or not, I think Andy Dalton has earned himself a starting job going forward. I could see the Saints. If not the Saints, there are definitely plenty of teams that will sign up as Andy Dalton as their quarterback moving forward. And congrats to him. I think he continues his good play.
He's the starter.
Yeah,
or just to sign him on the team.
No, I think he starts over Jameis. I think that's happening right now. Jameis can come back right now. I think they're starting him over Jameis because
for sure.
Yeah.
No, for sure. You were saying for next year.
I think if not maybe they do, but I think that Andy Dalton will be a starting quarterback in the NFL next year. I think that there's just too many teams that need that.
I'll take that.
Well, we'll decide when it comes down to the offseason. I got 5 months ahead of me to be able to make that bet, Aaron, and a draft. So
I'm just feeling saucy.
We'll wait till I know you got this new you got FanDuel on your phone. He's got his tax return coming in a couple of months. He's just ready to fucking go. But no, I do like what I've seen out of Dalton. And I think he obviously has a lot to play for, knowing that he is going to be a free agent after this season. There are quarterback hungry teams that are looking for him or looking for an option. And he's got something to prove. And I'm going to go with Andy.
Cool. Hey, I'm taking some flyers this week. I'm either going to end up in second place or I'm going to be in dead last. So,
just keep keep going against Vegas. It's good.
It's just kind of how I roll. Okay. Next game. This will be an interesting one. I imagine we'll probably all go the same way on it, but I'm interested to see what you guys say. We got the Texans headed to Indy to take on the Colts. Todd, lead us off.
So who is the starting quarterback for the Colts now?
Ellinger?
No.
Is it?
I don't think so.
I thought they made him inactive.
So good. Actually,
I heard Jeff Saturday's coming back and going under center. So.
I have no idea, dude. Let me look this up.
Yeah. I just want to. I have a pick already, but I need to know who's going to be under center for Indianapolis.
Isn't it so fucked up?
That's sad that we don't.
That we don't even know.
He got hurt last week.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he got hurt last week.
Just give us your pick. If it doesn't matter who their quarterback is, just give us your pick.
It matters for the content, Dan.
I'm looking it up. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm taking the Texans because the Colts are in complete shambles, but I think it's worth noting that in the midst of this conversation, all four of us had no idea who was going to start for the Colts.
Ellinger's listed at second on the depth chart behind
That's
Matt.
very notable.
In front of Matt. I mean,
that's a big deal, right? I think that is the precedent of the Colts season. That's kind of the point that I'm getting at. Maybe it's a little long-winded, Bobby, for you.
Sam Ellinger. Sam Ellinger will start.
But I think the fact of the matter is we're talking about a team that we all said was going to win the AFC South, and we have no idea who's under center on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's a serious problem. So, so you're talking about a second-year quarterback that you threw out there for a week and fumbled the bag against New England, and it's tough. I mean, you're going to go out and draft a quarterback, whether it's C.J. Stroud or Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, whoever it may be, but you're going to continue to be in this purgatory in Indianapolis and for at least 2 more years. So I have some sympathy for Colts fans because it's kind of it's a bumpy ride moving forward for them.
For sure. Aaron.
Yeah, I'll make this one a little interesting. What do the Colts have to play for here?
A better pick.
Yeah, while also screwing over a division rival, because I assume that the Bears are also going to lose this week. And as the Texans sit at 2-13-1, if the Texans were to somehow win this game, they would also get themselves out of the first overall pick. I'm going to take the 4-dimensional view approach here, guys, and I'm going to take the Texans because I think the Colts have literally no investment in this. The coach is going to be gone. They're going to go in a different direction there. You've seen this team now basically give up on 2 coaches in one season, which is rare to see. I'm going to take the Texans here. Mystery said it in the chat. They've been a little sparky lately. They've been frisky. They've been bad frisky. You know what I mean? Where it's like, this is just a bad roster, but they're still playing hard. I'm seeing them in games where it's like, okay, the Chiefs game, right? Like, holy shit,
They're trying.
Look at the Texans out here trying. Week 18, that's important. I'm taking the Texans.
I want to be very clear that they got beat 31-3 last week. I just want to put that out there.
Sure.
Sparky too. Okay,
wait, who'd they play?
They played the Jags. Yeah,
that's fine.
It was a very sparky field goal that they put.
We're talking about the division.
You're talking about
Jaguars.
Two of the last 3 weeks they've been fiery, feisty, sparky, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Corey, you have to admit the Jags, over the last, let's say 4 or 5 weeks, they have been playing very, very, very good football.
Oh, 100%. 100%. You're not going to, 100%. I think that a lot of that is because of Trevor Lawrence. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think last week's any discredit to the Texans. I think they've put their best foot forward as best as they can this season with what they've had to work with. But I'm taking Daddy Longneck. I'm taking Davis Mills over the Colts.
Guy on the field.
I've rode the Colts train the last couple of weeks on some flyers, and they just haven't panned out because they're just absolute fucking garbage. So I mean, I can't do it again here. So I got Texans.
So let me. Do we think the Texans are going to take a quarterback with their first pick?
They should.
Yeah.
We all feel that way. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they care if the Bears have the first overall pick then.
Yeah, but what if the Bears trade out of it because
they're not going to. They have so many positional needs. There's 0% chance the Bears trade out. They don't. There's no way. The last time the Bears made a trade up in the top 10, it didn't work out too well for them. They ended up with Mitch Trubisky. But I don't think that there's a lot of incentive. Like, I don't think the Texans are thinking about that. I think they're okay with the number 2 overall pick or because they feel comfortable in that the Bears probably aren't going to take their guy. So I'm going with the Colts.
Okay, cool. That's the 4th. I like that. I almost was going to be like, what about you? I just looked. Justin Fields was the 11th pick. So yes, that is correct.
So wait, you just took the Colts? Is that what
I did take the Colts because I don't think there's any incentive for the Colts to like try and screw over the divisional rival. Like Aaron made that point earlier. Like the Colts are like, I'm going to put one into you, and like you're going to beat us, and then now you're out of the first pick. Haha. Like I think the Colts are like as bad as the Colts have been. The Texans have been very, 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 very bad. Like the Texans they've won 2 games, guys. Like this team, although we should note. This game could be a wash because it was last time they met, a 20-20 tie.
and let me be clear too. I don't think the Colts are walking into this game going, if we lose this game, we're going to screw over. For a game that has nothing to really look out for, it's at least something to make it interesting.
And so they've got a head coach in Jeff Saturday that's probably been in this situation before. He's been in a situation where they didn't have anything to play for in the last week. But maybe you've got some guys that have incentives that they're on the cusp of, or they need to perform in some sense. And I think
I see where you're heading there.
Jeff Saturday has been in those shoes before. I would love to be inside that locker room before that game and hear that pregame speech from the coach.
How many yards you need to get that bonus check?
You better get him. You better get him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great point. Yeah, I didn't really consider that perspective, but
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective because you're right. Jeff Saturday has no fucks to give in this.
In a game that doesn't
right.
matter, you gotta reach, boys.
I mean, he knows he's gone too, right? So just go out with a bang.
I
don't
as far
believe
as fucking away from that organization as possible if I'm him.
Yeah, I don't believe NFL players tank. I think organizations can.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. Next game on the board. We've got our favorite thing after Thanksgiving, the Arizona Cardinals, headed to San Francisco to take on the 49ers.
The theory's paid off well this year.
It really has. I think we can make this a pretty quick one. We all got the Niners.
Purdy.
Yeah.
So
real quick, I mean, are we comfortable putting in the Niners in as a Super Bowl team right now? Are they the best team in the NFC?
It's a great question. I'm not comfortable because of it's Brock Purdy, but I'm comfortable saying I think that's the best top to bottom roster in the NFC.
I'm not comfortable because it's the 49ers, and they do this all the time. they
make it to the NFC Championship game and then they crumble.
Well, or the Super Bowl. Let's be fair, they made it to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G and lost to probably one of the greatest generational quarterbacks of all time, in Patrick Mahomes. So let's be fair in that regard that they made it there. But there's been many a year that they've just put like it doesn't matter who they've got at quarterback, and they just they don't do it. So I agree with Aaron in that it's hard to trust a rookie quarterback to be the guy to do it.
I need to know more about Jalen Hurts.
Yes, I'd say as a betting man, I've got the Niners and the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, with the Eagles coming out on top. Granted, Jalen Hurts is healthy.
Well, since we're all pulling stuff out of nowhere from earlier in the season, who is the only person here that had the Eagles in the NFC Championship game?
It's fair. I think I had nine.
No. I'm not done. I also had the fucking Rams, so let me be very clear that I fucked up too.
It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah,
you got the highs and the lows.
Yeah,
I think we'll have some time next week to do a season recap.
Yeah, it'd be great
for sure. Eli, what's up, man? Okay, so cool. Moving on. We've got the Cowboys headed to the nation's capital to take on the Commanders. Cowboys having a roller coaster of the last 5 weeks of the season. The Commanders are changing quarterbacks like I change socks in the summertime. So
often enough, just so they don't get too stinky.
Correct.
Well, they stinky.
Oh, this not a matter. It's more of a sweat thing. It's more of a moisture type deal.
It doesn't matter if you change your socks if your feet you haven't washed your fucking feet, guys.
I mean,
you guys wash your feet?
I know, it's wild.
I mean, a fresh pair of socks can't cover up stinky feet.
The water
for a little
trickles down. It takes care of that for you. That's how it works in the shower.
I second that. Yeah, I mean, so I believe we've got Taylor Heineke at quarterback.
Nope, Sam Howell.
Nope, Sam Howell, baby.
That's right. I forgot. I thought they were starting Heineke for a limited number of snaps and then switching to Sam Howell.
They announced this afternoon it is going to be Sam Howell's first NFL start.
Which a great way to test what you got in a rookie quarterback. Put him against one of the most perennial pass rushes in football. Yeah, good idea. Fucking stupid fucking organization. God damn.
You're talking about a team that the coach didn't realize that last week mattered to them.
Yeah,
that
the
was
press conference.
Something.
That was embarrassing. So go ahead and recap what you're talking about. So for those that didn't see it.
Okay. So in the post-game presser, Ron Rivera basically came out, or he did come out and say that he didn't realize that last week mattered to them either making it into the playoffs or being out of contention. And they just started Carson Wentz.
He's like, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to put the fucking bow on a shitstorm of an organization, that's it right there. And I was talking about it with a coworker today, and I was like, do you even fire Ron Rivera? Or do you just bring in a new ownership and go, it's going to take at least a year to figure out what we're in right now. Do it one more time, and then we'll just move on after that, right? Like, I think in most situations, you're like, this guy's fired, right? For making a comment like that. But the Commanders are just enough in the hole that you just ride it out for one more year, and then you just start fresh in 2024 and just figure it out there. I mean, that's at least where I stand on him, because has the experience, but fuck, they've
had to deal with a lot right now, as an organization.
There's so much adversity.
Yeah, so I don't know that you can really hold Ron Rivera to the fire on the issues that team is having right now.
No,
the front office has set him up with absolutely nothing in terms of a leader on that roster. Their best player hasn't played much of all in the last 2 seasons since he's been drafted. Actually, Chase Young has not really been on the field. So their best player coming into this season was shot. I mean, Ron Rivera has not had a lot to work with. I think the fact that the Commanders were even in the playoff consideration for as long as they were speaks more to Ron Rivera's ability to lead that team than the issues that they've had as of late.
Yeah. Well, this is a team we also talked about at one point at the beginning of the year when we were doing our predictions, having a top 5 pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
Yeah.
With Carson Wentz being the quarterback. And you're right. It's a gift to the Commanders fan base that they've won 7 games and tied one. Because I don't think
but isn't this the worst spot
be
to be in?
Yeah.
Just good enough to not make the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's worse than being
I'm feeling this
really
year.
bad. Yeah. Like
you got your quarterback though, Aaron.
That's true. I know.
Totally
it's
different.
Well, I mean, it isn't it, but yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just get to the picks. Unless you guys need to say something.
No, I just think it's a completely. You have a top 5 pass rusher. You have your quarterback. You have a great defensive back in Denzel Ward. You have probably the best rushing game in football. They're not even relatively close, in my opinion.
Okay, sure.
And we'll leave it there. All right. I take it we've all got the Cowboys this week, unless somebody's taking a very large flyer.
Well, no, I'm taking the Cowboys.
This will be their last. I'm calling my shot now. This is their last win of the season.
Can we point out?
I like that.
No, I'm with you there, and I want to point out Mystery's comment here. It might be the funniest thing I've seen all year. Beware of the Cowboys postseason. This is something no one has said in the last 20 years.
Yeah, they.
I might eat crow, but I don't know.
Well, we'll see who they get in the first round.
Tom Brady.
Well, that might.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd take the Buccaneers though.
I know. Let's cross that bridge when we get there. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth just yet.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Tom Brady.
I don't know, man. Mike I don't know. I mean, Tom Brady looked really fucking good last week. I don't know. We'll see. We'll that's a conversation for another day.
You know who hasn't looked good? Mike McCarthy was a 5 o'clock shadow as a head coach in the NFL. Either fucking shave it or grow it out. Sick of it.
Figure it out, Mike.
Shave it or grow it out, Mike. Quit being a fucking lazy bum. That's the testament of his whole career.
Wow.
Oops.
Super Bowl winning coach.
Yep. Super Bowl champ.
Testament of his career is 5 o'clock.
So is fucking Switzer. You guys keep saying that, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me.
All right, is Mike McCarthy a better head coach or Marvin Lewis?
Marvin Lewis.
Oh, wow. All right.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Super Bowl's fine. Playoff wins, though. Let's talk about those.
No. Let's talk about who's fucking employed. Let's talk about. I'm with
barometer.
I like the hate on Mike McCarthy though. It's fun. I'm with it too. But
you could have.
I don't think he's good.
Said anybody. You could have said fucking Lovie Smith. I'm picking him. You could have said Cliff Kingsbury. I'm picking anybody over Mike McCarthy. He's the biggest piece of shit head coach.
Love it.
Your hatred for McCarthy.
We all have just somebody who's just like, if I see him in a hallway, I'll stab him.
I'll fucking hit him. I swear to God.
We'll stab him in the neck with a knife.
5 o'clock shadow, fat fucking face. Bring it in here.
I'm not calling him dead.
They're not
there's
getting
a
my face.
fire.
I'll drop that. Okay.
Sorry. You guys got to stop bringing him up. I can't handle talking about him.
You brought him up.
Mike. That's what day it is.
You stop it. I didn't do anything.
The voice
Nobody
is
was like, and how about that Mike McCarthy guy, right?
Kick the tape.
Always have to be in the Cowboys.
Run the tape back.
dude. Todd will just be like driving down 75 one day, just sitting there listening to fucking music, and a song will come on, and it'll be like, "Fucking Mike McCarthy, dude."
Feel the same way about Tim Tebow.
Hey, you're not alone. Thomas came in chat and said Marvin won in Cincy. Mike sucks. So
Thomas.
you got a fan.
No, he's not. Marvin Lewis isn't the better coach. I don't want to go on record saying that I actually believe that before we move forward.
If we're talking about levels of humanity and human beings, yeah. I mean, I think
I don't know that Mike McCarthy is like a bad dude.
I don't either. I don't know enough to speak on it. I'm trying to help my boy out here.
Like Mike McCarthy only buys from puppy mills. Like,
He goes on wild zebra hunts with the owner of Jimmy John's in the off-season. He's hunting extinct game in his spare time when he's not shaving his stupid fat fucking face.
Wow.
Oops.
Oh God damn it!
All right, let's bring it in.
It's dry January. It's dry January. I don't have any beers in me.
I needed this tonight, man. Thank you guys. Oh,
Drinking a lot of water, and I'm pissed.
Yeah. I'm upset. I'm sorry. I have to diet and exercise. I'm sorry.
I need a fucking PBR and a piece of pizza.
Yeah. Damn it.
I'm dieting too, guys. That's why I'm drinking Mick Ultras tonight, rather than my usual IPAs. Diet.
It's not dieting. I'm still.
Well.
All right, we got 4 games left. Let's get them going here. We've got the Rams headed to Seattle to take on my favorite head coach, Pete Carroll, and the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, lead us off.
Oh,
Woo. There is an interesting point to this one. Is Stafford going to play?
wait, what?
Yeah, he was cleared. He was cleared to play.
No way he plays this game. No way he plays this game.
No, I don't think he plays, but he was cleared to play this week.
So somebody brought this up to me, or I think I read it on Twitter. Stafford has the chance of sending the Lions to the playoffs for the first time in his career.
Well, no, he's taking them to the playoffs. He's taking them to the playoffs.
I just thought it was interesting. It could work. It could end up shaking out that way because they said he was cleared to play. I don't think he's going to. I don't think they have any incentive to do it. I'm still going to take the Seahawks. I just thought that was an interesting note to this game. Seahawks do have something to play for. They've been the better team all year. They've had their ups and downs. So have a lot of teams. That's why you're sitting at 8-8. But the Rams have just been kind of listless, and I just can't put myself. I think the Seahawks come away with this one.
Sure, Corey.
Do it.
There's a lot of things that come into this game because there are multiple teams that need the Seahawks to lose. Obviously, the Packers win and they're in. The Seahawks win. They need the Lions to beat the Packers. And then if the Seahawks lose, the Lions need to beat the Packers, all for that final 7th seed. And while the Rams haven't looked good, the Seahawks haven't looked great either. They've only won 2 out of their last 7 games. One of those being the Rams in Los Angeles, which we'll call it a home game if you want, I guess. It was a 27-23 game. This one, obviously, being at home, there's a lot to play for. That crowd is going to be behind there. It really pains me to do this because I had it set up to where the only way that the Lions' hearts were ripped out was by Aaron Rodgers. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be by that guy that didn't write back, though, Geno Smith. I got to take the Seahawks.
Todd.
Yeah, I really want to take the Rams just as a disruptor, but there's nothing that justifies me picking them.
I would like them to win.
I'm going to root for them. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. For right. Yeah.
Because I want the Lions to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just can't. I can't take Baker Mayfield against the 12th man.
No.
Yeah, that crowd's
I
gonna be
can't.
fucking nuts, dude.
It'll be insane. And that dude just fumbles the bag under pressure in the NFL. Like he just does. He in the last 2 years, I guess I should say. But
I was gonna say, like, won the first playoff game ever
yeah,
Of
sorry,
all
in the
time.
last two, in the last
of all
2
time.
years.
It's like the Neil Armstrong of quarterbacks. So
Yeah. So yeah, I'm taking the Seahawks.
do it.
Oh,
Strike
God, I
him
want to.
down with your anger.
I want to. Let me do some math here real quick.
Oh no.
And
He's going to end up
No,
calling a tie.
Baker Mayfield still is not. He will never be over 6 feet tall, no matter how big a spikes you give him. So he'll never get that tall. I'm sorry. Can't see over his offensive line, especially throwing off that back foot.
oh, it's hard to go against the guy that's probably going to be offensive rookie of the year and Kenneth Walker.
You think so?
I'm gonna do it though. I'm gonna ride the Baker train.
Whoa!
God.
On the road, Baker on the road. Interesting. One thing to note about this game: Baker going and playing against the team that was rumored to be interested in having him as their quarterback.
Yeah.
Is there something there? Maybe. I mean, if there's one guy that's going to have a grudge motivate him, it's absolutely the nut grabbing Baker Mayfield, flag planting Baker Mayfield. So put that in there as a note.
Weren't there Baker Mayfield Seahawk jerseys made?
That's a rumor, at least.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, he'll find anything to put a chip on his shoulder, but that's
I
I get the point.
I've got one more game that I need to take against Corey. So that's 5. So technically, if I go 100% this week, I have the ability to tie Corey.
You need to lay out like a 5-leg parlay of all the Corey fades.
Yeah, but Corey, we're still rocking free bets. So I'm just kidding.
I actually have a 16 pick parlay.
Totally will hit.
with
It's
a
gonna hit,
DraftKings
dude.
a DraftKings bet. The odds are
You
insane.
start looking at houses.
If I it's one of the free $25 bets from DraftKings. So if I hit it, it's like 50 grand.
There you go.
It's awesome.
Sure,
That'd be
it's free money.
A nice
Free money
down
turns
payment.
into
if you
money.
guys don't see Bobby next week.
No, yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here, trust me.
His studio's just immaculate.
Bobby, did you get a new mic and a new camera and
Strippers.
we're gonna have a whole light show.
The intro to this podcast gets a lot
with
different
smoke.
if Bobby wins that money.
I was just
All
rocking
right,
a smoking bucket.
All right, well let's
be
move
sweet.
on to a game that I think there's some implications, but not a ton. We've got the Giants headed to Philly to take on the Eagles. Now, Eagles are already locked. They clinched. And
Giants are locked too.
Giants are locked. So
The
does
Eagles are not locked, by the way.
they're not.
Eagles are not locked. San Francisco wins, Eagles lose. I believe San Francisco takes they have the conference record, a better conference record than the Eagles. So Eagles lose, San Fran wins, San Fran gets the number 1 seed.
Okay.
Because that's the tiebreaker, right? It's record and then conference record.
Yeah.
If I heard correctly, Jalen Hurts is playing this week, or is he not playing?
He practiced today.
Okay. So he'll probably play this week then. Okay. Aaron, lead us off. Who you got? Giants on the road. in
Yeah,
Philly.
I mean, this is a pick'em game, and I can't not take the 14-point spread. I'm going with the Eagles here, like you guys were just saying. They definitely have something to play for. The Giants are locked. Hey, congrats to the Giants, by the way, for making the playoffs. I think Daboll really put himself in a position to be mentioned in the Coach of the Year
I agree.
conversation. I think he has a reasonable chance to win it. I'm not sure that he will, but if I'm a Giants fan, I'm really happy with the juice he was able to squeeze out of that roster. That being said, I'm going to take the Eagles here. They're just the better team. They have more to play for. And again, I can't not take the money line on a 14-point spread.
Sure. Yeah. No, makes sense. Todd.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles too. I Jalen Hurts or not, I just there's a lot to play for, and I just don't see them losing this game at home.
Yeah. I would have to agree here. The Eagles are obviously playing for, what is deemed the largest advantage in the playoffs, and that's that home field advantage throughout. And, I just don't see any world in where, unless, Daniel Jones decides to have the game of his life, I don't see the Eagles losing this one.
Not to mention, I mean, they've basically been in the driver's seat all year. Yeah. It's kind of interesting to see it now come down to the last week. Like, I didn't even think there was going to be a chance, especially when you see something like Garoppolo going down, and not that Garoppolo is phenomenal, but you don't think Mr. Irrelevant's going to come in and steer this ship the way that he has. And hats off to Purdy for doing so. But it's just interesting that 3-4 weeks ago, just looked like the Eagles are easily running away with this. They can just kind of coast, and it's kind of hurting them now.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, I assume you had the Eagles.
Yeah, I actually do, and I'm not sure if we noted this reason yet, but I think the Giants are going to rest everybody. They've been pretty banged up. There's no reason for them to play Daniel Jones or Saquon or anybody that can impact that game. So yeah, taking the Eagles.
Cool. Next game on the board, we've got the Chargers headed to Denver to take on the Broncos. Chargers look like they've come alive the last couple weeks. Obviously, Broncos have been pretty banged up. Obviously not playing great football this season anyway. Todd, lead us off. Who you got?
So I just want to make a note that the Chargers have a pretty easy last 4 weeks of their schedule, coming off wins against the Titans, the Colts, and the Rams. Now you're facing a Broncos team that's completely
destroyed.
Just upside down, but they're winning, which is important, right? They're winning the games that they have to win. They've clinched their playoff spot. But
are they locked too?
No.
They're not? Okay.
There could still be some. They
can flop with the Ravens.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that the Chargers would prefer that first wild card spot over that second wild card spot, because you're playing the winner of the AFC South. And I think if you're in that first wild card spot, you have the best chance of winning that first game. And I think the Chargers, between the two teams, between the Chargers and the Ravens, have a better chance of beating Jacksonville because they haven't lost to them already. So I'm taking the Chargers here because I think they want to be in the driver's seat for the wild card.
Yep, absolutely. Aaron.
I was really all ready to just say, obviously, let's take the Chargers here. And
I know
I'm looking at like the spreads on it, and like,
dude, I'm with you, man.
Denver's favored.
I know.
And not only are they favored, but like they're getting a lot of action.
Yep.
Wow. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. I can't bet on the Broncos. And I'm an avid Chargers supporter. I think 11-6 looks a lot better than 10-7. I want to so bad, but I can't take Russell. I refuse to. I'm going to take.
There's not a gun to his head.
Yeah,
he's already said it.
True. Or is there? Dun, dun, dun.
Corey.
Guys, the Broncos have looked good over the last couple of weeks. I'm not gonna lie, like the offense is starting to click.
Do it.
The offense is starting to click.
Do it.
Russell Wilson last week against the Chiefs played good football. I want to be very clear with you, and I dare anybody to challenge that because it's just not true. He played good football last week. Now,
chat, I need you to throw "do it" in the chat. Everybody, type it in.
Were there plays where you're like, "What the fuck was that?" Absolutely, absolutely. Every time I go against Vegas when it doesn't make sense, it hurts me. And every time I go with Vegas,
you're like, what do they know?
Exactly. Every time I go with them, a la Cowboys against the Vikings, Cowboys against the Eagles. I was a loner on that one, but I was with Vegas on it, and I ended up winning those picks. It might cost me the championship, but I'm going to go with the Broncos. Let's ride. Let's do it, baby.
Okay, I'm taking the Chargers.
I hope that's the reason you lose is because Russell Wilson throws a pick six.
I mean, it would take more than just that game. It would take more than just that game.
Yeah, but the way that the schedule breaks down, we're going to know everything on Sunday, and this is a 4:00 one.
All right. Well,
Uh,
this makes the last pick of the evening irrelevant, at least for me, because I would assume we're probably all going to lean one way, but I don't know. Could go either way. We've got the Lions headed to Green Bay to take on Aaron Rodgers in the absolute red hot Green Bay Packers. Todd, lead us off.
See, I knew you were going to do that.
I mean, I can go first if you want.
No, it's okay. I'm here. All of the fibers of my being want me to pick the Lions because I want to support them, but statistics in recent games tell me that I need to pick Green Bay and Lambeau in prime time.
such as
Aaron Rodgers playing for a playoff spot. That's it. That's my statistics there.
all right.
But you're looking at a team.
Lambeau in December.
Yeah.
Well, January.
So you're looking at
January. You're living in the past, Aaron.
Yeah. So coming into this with a 4-game win streak, right? Obviously, last week after putting up 41 on the Vikings, I think they're showing that they need to win it. They needed to win in their division. They're doing it. I think this is their ticket into the playoffs here. I'm taking the Packers.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I really like what I've seen out of Aaron Rodgers. I think that young receiving core in Green Bay, you're finally starting to see some cohesion there with Aaron Rodgers, and you have some veteran leadership there with Mercedes Lewis that came back from the dead 2 weeks ago. I was absolutely blown away when I saw this man catch a touchdown pass for 20 yards. I had to do a double take and make sure that it was actually him, because it's like he's been in the league for since we were all kids. So. But yeah, I got the Packers here. I love the story with the Lions this year, but I think the road ends in Green Bay. Aaron.
Yeah, it was probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I had pointed out, if the Packers can start putting together these wins here at the end of the season, we're going to be staring down the barrel of, Aaron Rodgers being able to rip the hearts out of Lions fans one more time. And it kind of all shook out exactly that way. And I'm going to just keep pulling with the tides here. Green Bay, Lambeau, prime time, last game of the regular season. I'm taking the Packers.
Cool. Corey.
Do it.
He's going to do it.
There's not a piece of me that wants to pick the Packers here, but I've said that. I promoted that exact narrative that Aaron is talking about to where it makes so much sense. And honestly, I could see the Lions going out and playing so hard, even if the Seahawks win. They'll know whether or not they have anything to play for by the time they touch the field. If the Seahawks win, the Lions can't make the playoffs. So they'll know before kickoff of that game whether or not that game matters. But I think it'll matter to that team a lot, and I think they'll play really hard. The one thing to note is, we talk about, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers and games that matter. Over the last 4 years, they haven't played well in games that matter. If we're going to be honest with ourselves, they've lost in the divisional round of the playoffs the last 3 seasons. So, and at Lambeau, obviously losing to San Francisco last year in a crazy snow game that ended in a field goal. But I see it happening. It's not. There's no reason for me to fade this one because I've been calling the narrative all time. I am picking the Packers to win this game, but I'm going to be rooting for me to be wrong. Very, very hard.
Everybody will.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, watching that game that's not a Packers fan is going to be rooting for them. So, well, that's it, boys. That's 18 weeks of picks in the books. How do we feel? Let's take some time to reminisce. And
Aaron, how do you feel after watching probably one of the craziest NBA performances to ever happen?
Were you at that game?
No, I wasn't, but
okay.
It was just wild to see Donovan Mitchell go off for 71, and we've seen
him on my fantasy team.
Yeah, nice. You've seen a lot of really high scoring games happen in the NBA of recent. You've seen Luka, even Klay Thompson later that night went off for 54, but it just doesn't pale in comparison to the Donovan Mitchell 71. And then, of course, that's the highest scoring game since we've seen Kobe, score 81, edging out Devin Booker's 70 points. But those games, those points didn't matter in the same way that Donovan's 71 did, because the Cavs came back from 22 to win that game. So it's one thing to put up a lot of points, but to put up a lot of points with purpose. Not only that, is the second highest of all time points and assists, baskets accounted for in NBA history, only behind Wilt's 100. And it was 99 points and assists points off of his assist as well as his points. 99, and Wilt Chamberlain's was 104. So it was really freaking close as well. Kind of just wild to see that trade has worked out in spades for the Cavs. Even just tonight, they came back again, and while we were on, they beat the Suns by 2 with Evan Mobley hitting a game-winning shot.
Low scoring game.
Low scoring game. That's the perfect. They've just been playing really, really hard. They're a team that, obviously the Donovan Mitchell trade accelerated their ceiling. But right in the thick of the Eastern Conference playoff race. And yeah, it's nice to just touch on I know we're still heavily in football season. But as the playoffs start and there's less of a density of games, we'll start talking a little more NBA as well.
Yeah, definitely expect, to dive in it, not only here on the show, but myself personally. Haven't really allowed myself to dive into the NBA as much as I should be. But, obviously the Eastern Conference is a very tightly wound one right now. But I don't think that that's abnormal, as I think it was kind of this way last season, particularly going into the All-Star break. And then after that, things kind of shook out as they typically do. But I think generally speaking, the Eastern Conference is clearly top to bottom the best conference, in my opinion. I think you have legitimately like 3 or 4 finals contenders in the Eastern Conference. And then it's just a matter of who's going to last the longest out of that. Obviously, the Bucks, the Nets, and the Celtics obviously sitting atop that conference. And then who is going to be that 4th team? Is it the Cavs? Is it the Sixers? So just kind of waiting to see how that plays out. On the other hand, obviously, I want to just talk a little bit about the Jazz. They have fallen from grace exactly as they should be doing right now. A great onset at the beginning of the season, and then have steadily drifted their way down, now sitting at the final play-in spot at the 10 seed in the Western Conference. But I think that trade has worked out for them as well. I think they feel really good about the young core that they have within that team, and they're almost like where the Cavs were 2 years ago. Kind of. Am I wrong in that assumption here?
The only reason I would disagree is because they don't have the players yet. They have the potential of the players because of the picks. The Cavs 2 years ago still had Garland, Okoro. They obviously didn't have Mobley yet, but they had Sexton at the time. And
right.
What they did get out of that trade, though, was all-star Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah.
And that's the difference to me is, you have the potential of those picks, but you got somebody back who is playing above what I would say his trade grade would have been.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So
he's an all-star.
Oh,
lost Todd there, but I think where he's going with this is that he is. There's Todd. There he is. We're back. All right. So it's all right, but we got you back, and we're all in the same spots on the stream as well. We're good.
Yeah.
But I was like, what happened?
So, Todd, Lauri Markkanen, go.
Yeah, so I think you're looking at a guy that hasn't really been able to find a spot on any roster that he's been on yet. Now he's getting the opportunity to just be fed the ball.
Getting the time,
And this is what he did in college too, guys. He's a ball hawk. He can shoot. He can shoot from all over the floor. He can get to the basket. He's not your typical leading scorer, all-star player that you have, but it's a good spot to be in for Utah, where you're going to have all of these picks coming in from the Gobert trade, and then some of the picks you're getting from the Cavs trade. You're looking at a team that's on a really good, what I thought to be looking at this was a 5-year plan, but I think I could shorten it down to 3, because you're looking at guys even like Walker Kessler, who has more blocks than Rudy Gobert. I just want to make that comment here before we move forward. But the centerpiece of that trade
of all time
that has less blocks than the guy that got drafted this year out of Auburn, and Walker Kessler. Obviously, I've talked about Jared Vanderbilt. Jared Vanderbilt is averaging 8 and 6. It's Utah's not in a position where they were expected to be a plus 500 team. Obviously, the start is really cool. I felt the same way about the Pacers. The Pacers also started red hot. Still, kind of in the top 10 of the East, but they're starting to falter out now. But if you're a Jazz fan,
they have like Halliburton, which is so exciting to see.
Yeah, Therese Halliburton is a fun player to watch just because of the lack of respect that he gets from the NBA as a whole. And dropping 30 plus a night, it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, I think the Jazz are on a good 3-year trajectory, and I look forward to them and the Thunder both getting into playoff contention in 2024 and 25.
Yeah, they I mean, Laurie played really well for the Cavs last year, especially compared to how he was on the Bulls. And I think the Cavs didn't want to trade him, but if that was the sticking point, I don't think they were happy to get rid of him by any means. But it's one of those, they do that 10 times out of 10, and it's one of those rare situations where both teams can walk away from that trade and go, I'm really fucking happy right now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect, or I wouldn't be shocked to see more moves coming out of Salt Lake City here in the next couple of weeks as we wind down here. And just a quick note, Paolo Banchero is the heads and shoulders favorite to be Rookie of the Year. So hats off.
Dandruff.
Yeah, Troy Polamalu is all about it. So hats off to, I think it was myself and Aaron that called.
I think I'd follow.
Yeah. But hey, I think Todd called Jaden Ivey. Can't be upset about that. Obviously, Pistons fans pretty bummed out, shutting down Cade for the year. But Pistons are sitting in a great spot to go get their big three as of right now in the early onsets of the season.
I said Keegan Murray, which has also been he's the guy that I thought would get into the NBA and play that stretch forward position really, really well. And fortunately for Sacramento, they're just playing basketball well overall. But Sabonis and Keegan Murray play a very similar position, and Sabonis is having
happy to see that, by the way, for the Kings
year as well. Yeah.
I had Jaden Ivey at the beginning, Corey.
So he's a third odds favorite right now. Right now, Paolo is sitting at minus 800 to win Rookie of the Year.
He should be. He's having a great year.
And Jaden's sitting at third at plus 2,500. Keegan is sitting at fifth at plus 12,500. I think Paolo. What we're seeing out of Paolo is exactly what we thought we were going to see. Is a guy that can literally do all of it.
Yep. And Orlando is just so inexperienced in everything that they do that all you're doing is just watching them put together 5 on the floor and see if it meshes. And then if it doesn't, they throw another 5 out on the floor. Between Paolo and then the Wagner brothers and Wendell Carter Jr., they have the size, right? There's no question of if they could put 5 people over 6'10" on the floor, they do that sometimes. But they're leaps and bounds away from being able to put together a playoff caliber roster. But Paolo's a good centerpiece if they can, bring in 1 or 2 additional talents for him.
Absolutely. So to kind of wrap things up, obviously we've been going here for a while, but I think we all need to pick our national champion. College football national championship going to happen on Monday.
TCU, Georgia. Devastating week of college football for the Big Ten.
Hilarious timing.
Dude, it's so funny.
I'm watching the game, and boy, there's a great way to piss off your wife the first year you're married on New Year's. I'm like, hold on. Let me time this up here, and we'll have it. We basically missed both of them. So hats off to me on that one.
So Aaron's referring to obviously the field goal going through or going wide left.
And I know there's delays and stuff, but for my television, literally when he said hike, there was like 1 second until New Year. And
if it makes you feel any better, Bobby and I missed it too.
It was hilarious
because
I was in the moment. Was like, I'm sorry. I hope you understand how hilarious
we were holding each other instead of our significant others, and that went well for both of us. So,
guys, all right, here's the move. You put it up on the TV. You put the ball drop on the TV. You got the game on the phone.
We were both too many beers deep by the end of
project. I barely remember getting home. So,
don't you live like across the street?
Not anymore.
Oh, okay. That's changed. Okay,
but no, Caroline actually lives pretty close to Todd, so we went back to her house.
There you go. I'm glad you got home safe, but wild finish. I mean, honestly, hats off TCU, man. That was a phenomenal game.
Either way, great week.
Yeah, I mean the games were exciting.
Phenomenal.
there was not a second where your eyes weren't on the TV. But to answer your question, Corey, I'm taking TCU. Taking Max Duggan.
Wow.
I am not.
Yeah, I'm not either. But let me just say this. If there has been any justification across college football for an expansion of the playoffs, it has been this year.
You got it.
It has been the only year that I can remember where both semifinal matchups were competitive. And it begs the question, particularly seeing what a team like Alabama did in their playoff game, particularly seeing what a team like Tennessee did in their bowl game, what it would look like with an expanded field. And I think if you get a team like Tennessee in there, you get a team like Alabama in there, there can be some noise that happens. There can be those teams that make those Cinderella runs if you're expanding it out. Do it for Mike Leach. Expand the playoff.
Love
I
it.
dig it.
Does everybody else have Georgia? Am I flying solo on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, buddy.
Dogs.
Let's go Horned Frogs, baby.
What's the spread on this? I want to see how.
I'd guess. Is it? That's what I would have guessed. Like I'm not.
I don't care what the spreads are, man. I think OSU.
I mean, they matter.
I think OSU exposed Georgia. Because that was a game that we all thought that wasn't even going to be close, right?
I guess, but I don't think OSU and TCU are the same team.
I mean, I would agree with that, but you just never know. It's college.
I think
sport.
OSU basically played exactly what they needed to do to give themselves a chance in that game, while Georgia played one of the worst games I've seen them play all year. And
defensively,
I honestly I think Ohio State I'm not going to say deserve because they didn't win the game, but they played well enough to be in that national championship game. I just don't see Georgia doing that twice in a row.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Also, is Michigan kicking themselves in the ass for letting Joe Milton go to Tennessee? My God.
Can you imagine though if both those games went the other way and you had a Michigan Ohio State national championship?
Nope.
God, no.
I would.
Awful.
I'd be in Cincinnati for the week because I wouldn't be able to fucking live here.
That would be but you.
I'm just honestly though, I can relate. Living in Michigan now, and I'm not an Ohio State guy, and I'm definitely not a Michigan guy. I don't root for one or the other. Typically, I root for whomever is the underdog in the matchup. But I could not stand living in this area if Michigan would have won the national championship. I could. Oh my God, they're insufferable. They're terrible. Todd, exactly what you're feeling with living in Columbus, not liking Ohio State, is exactly what I'm feeling living in Michigan, surrounded by what we call Walmart Wolverines. It's just, they got their Wolverine diploma from Walmart when they bought that fucking T-shirt. God, can't stand it.
Fair enough. All right, boys.
And on that note,
no, it's been a great show. The picks have been a lot of fun this season. I'm interested to see how they play out going into Sunday. Obviously, it's a completely divisional, Sunday slate of games. So
I put myself out there. I didn't just ride chalk with you guys.
You could have tried to take a knee.
Yeah, I could have taken a knee, and I didn't. We're playing Madden online here. All right,
we got some fun options coming here. It'll be good.
Yeah, no, it'll be a good time. Interested to see how it all boils down. Obviously, next week we'll know a little bit more. I'll be able to discuss the playoff picture in the NFL. And obviously, prayers up for DeMar Hamlin, and hopefully we get some good news on him. Going into the weekend and into these games that are going to start on Saturday. So, with that, chat, you guys have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.